We are live theoretically. Okay, got 4 people watching. I presume that's Lars, Chris, and somebody else.
Somewhere.
Verify that the sound is working well. We don't know for sure what microphone is even working. You know how that goes. Put this one just in case it's working. How's that? Can anyone hear me? Full of ammonium nitrate. Nitrate.
Yeah.
Probably.
No, you don't want to do that.
I suppose if you mix ammonium nitrate and sulfides, that might work pretty well for roasting
You
it.
don't want everything all over the garage.
Man, I don't know. Do we have a sound check? Anyone, can you give me a sound check? Ammonium nitrate is fine. Hello, hello. Okay, see, I'm not.
He says they're here. Oh, guys. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi,
Okay.
everybody.
Hey, BC. Alrighty. Okay, we got a fun show tonight. We had a busy week doing bleaching and stuff. Chris says hi, Eva.
Hi, Chris. Hi, everybody.
I suppose I should give you a hug on camera later. Because you keep saying, say hi to Eva and give her a hug for me. Hello, Vincent.
Hey, Vincent.
Wolfman there, yeah. So, got loads and loads of stuff for today, and we have a special thing here. One of our viewers sent Eva a package. Got a rock in it, I'm pretty sure, of some sort, so she'll be unpacking that. What do they call that?
Unboxing.
An unboxing, yes, exactly. Hi, Terry.
Hey, Terry.
We've got that, and I got stuff on the bleaching, etc. Last week, did I have the full chart?
No, you did not. Yep, you just had the first original 3. Yeah.
The first original 3 on
Well,
the wasn't it the first one?
Well, 4,
Was
6.
it that one?
No, you did not have that one.
Okay. Okay.
No, you had the original, like, hour 4, hour 6, and hour. No, maybe it was 6, 12, and 24 or something.
So,
We can cover that
Yeah,
here a little bit.
can you leach sulfides? You can, but not real well. It's better to roast it first if possible. And this is the gold from that pager that, let's see, boy, I just can't. That's probably best right there, yeah. Anyhow, this is a Prospector Trip, sent it over here. I can't tell you, Chris, I got it selected to the correct mic, but I don't know. I mean, I think the mic would normally be here. There's the external mic. But, yeah. Well, here, what we can do is I can turn this off. And now, I got a little bit there. Yeah, same thing. So it's not this mic working. Okay. Who knows? Anyhow, so I want to thank Matt for. I can't see the keyboard. Frustrated. So I want to thank Matt for that pay dirt. That was some pretty rich pay dirt. That is 3 grams of gold, 3.06 grams of stuff with a little bit of black sand in it. So I'm going to give it that. Let's see, is there any way we can, I don't know, I'm trying to remember where that frickin',
It was in your first setup page if you're looking for the things about fixing your microphone.
Yeah, which I have to shut down to get to.
Yes, exactly.
No. Nothing there. Leave side, cancel.
You try turning up the volume in your actual computer all the way to take it out.
Oh, the computer volume is at 100%. Sorry. Okay. Anyhow, so that was very nice of Matt, and I appreciate that. And Eva will get to unbox her thing, her present later, and you can watch that. What's this? We're having trouble loading your feed. See why I don't like doing a goddamn thing. Check connection. I have no idea what's going on.
Hold on, I'm coming. Not that I
Not a bad idea. Do you have any idea what's going on here?
Sign language.
No, your connection is, you're connected.
Okay, I have no idea. It's asking me questions like, do you want to do something? It's like, yeah, I'd just like to do my damn life. I don't know why that
Let me see
this
something
is
in here.
100%.
Yeah, that's the speakers, Bear.
I know, that's why.
I'm looking for your actual audio connections. Yeah, don't worry about that.
There's microphone there. Or something. No, not voice activated.
I'm looking for something in specific, Bear, please. Thank you.
I don't know what she's doing, folks, but she's doing it.
Looking to see if I had any options that would handle the volume better.
Huh?
Yeah, Chris, I'm considering the percussive device management here.
Anyhow, so the other thing that was kind of cool was Coulter was over here. He came by, showed up in Helen on Thursday. He was doing a several-day tour just to get out of the house and run around and stuff. And I think he was letting his dot matrix printer work too. Hello, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
No, I don't think it's a. I don't think it's your thing. If it had a thing here where I could go, I want to change cameras, I want to change microphones, I want to change anything, to where I could do that while I'm actually in the stream, where it kind of like matters. You know, it would be nice. But apparently, there's nothing in here that we can find that
Without
says
shutting down
how
and
do you
starting over.
select stuff? Because I mean, I can do it before I start the stream, but I cannot do it during the stream, apparently for some bizarre reason. Don't ask me why. But anyhow, so the other thing was Coulter was here. I have no idea. If you come over here and probably just get it working would be fine. But let's say if you could write YouTube an app that would basically say, okay, here's your control panel while you're flying, instead of this is your control panel while your plane's on the ground. Once you're flying, you're fucked. You can't change anything, you know? You can't change the radios or nothing. It sounds pretty stupid to me, but you know.
I'm going to try to get OBS loaded on this computer at some point and figure out how it works. The thing is, I have other stuff I'm trying to do, and Bear is hopeless with that.
Yeah, I say I just need something that actually has a simple selection. That's
And
all.
I don't think OBS does.
But anyhow, to get back to what I was saying, even though you're having trouble hearing it. So Coulter was over here, and I thought, oh, sweet. I'll just hold this pay dirt until he gets here, and I'll just split it into two pans, and we'll have a pan off. You know, what the heck? And so we did that. And for those of you who saw the video, Coulter failed, not utterly, but miserably. He lost some big chunks of gold.
Okay, you can't talk, you did just as badly on that black poison.
No, little one. Everyone does bad on black poison. On this stuff, I had 3 microsteps. Okay. And anyhow, it was a simple thing that he was doing that doesn't work, that can cause a problem. So here's your pan. And if you watch me pan, I'll pan, dip it, and pan, like this. Well, what he did was he was panning, got it on the bottom, turned it, got stuff out, washed it out, shook it again, washed stuff out. And the problem with that is, when you do that, the only thing keeping the gold from running out of your pan is the ripple. Now these pans here, for what I use, have very small, gentle ripples. They work very well for me. But when you've got big, giant chunks of gold, those are not going to stop it. And so that's what was happening. While he was doing this, gold just worked its way over there. So it's very important to bring the pan back to level or even tip it back a little bit.
Yep, backwards.
So that the gold comes back and gets back in this area before you go again. And each one is almost a separate run where you're tipping it and the lights move a lot faster than the heavies. Some of them get over the edge, stop, bring it back, do it again. And while it may sound tedious, it's actually faster because you can do about every 5 to 10 seconds. So it worked out very well. It was very helpful to him because he'd never seen that before. Another thing is, especially when you're doing something different, always have a catch pan and then check it. And he said, man, I'm going to have to go back to that river I stopped on the way up here and try that again and see what happens. Ooh, a steel pan off. Ooh, that would be cool, Chris. I'm in it. Well, I'm glad to help, Howard. That's great. Glad to know we've been helpful. Yeah. Let's see. We have more results from the leaching. Here's a couple of the solution samples. You can see how different they look. And that's as the time goes on, different things happen. But for those of you who didn't see the actual video, here's my recovery curves from the first 3 samples. These 2 down here were the first 2. This one was the 3rd one. And the major difference here was I kept the pH a little lower. It wasn't as alkaline, and I had less of the lixivant, the chemical that dissolves the gold in it. And it looks to me that what probably happened was it was dissolving gold really well until it ran out of lixivant, and then it just flatlined. That's my guess. I've already done 2 more samples using pH of 11.3 and a pH of 10, and adding lixivant at 6 hours and 12 hours to make sure that there was still lixivant in there. And I should get the results back Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday. Should have a video up this week. But according to the lab in town here and the assay that I have, I got 78% recovery in 3 hours. Recovery into solution in 3 hours. Now that's pretty quick. If we could now, it's entirely possible that what's actually happened is that all the gold is easily accessible to the solution is dissolved here, and this is from gold that's inside rock particles. That is another possibility. That requires an entirely different approach, and therefore, I have some tests lined up. First, I'm going to wait for the results of these tests so I can have a better idea of what's happening. And another thing, if you look at this, you'll notice the very first data point is 78%. Well, that's not good. What the heck happens over in this range? You probably know it went to 78% here and came over. So therefore, I also took the first test period from 6 hours to 1 hour. So I took a sample at 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, 24, to try and get a much better understanding of what's happening in the very early stages. When my first data point is 80% recovery, I know I need more data points. So that's what's happening here. Things are moving quickly in that, I mean, developments are happening rapidly here. So if you want to keep watching every week, you'll get a better idea of exactly what's happening and why and how I'm going about this this process of refining how this particular lixiviant works with this particular ore. Very, very important is that nothing works the same with different ores. I mean, the same thing works differently with different ores. Different lixiviants will work differently with the same ore. You've got to control your variables and identify the parameters that optimize your recovery with your particular ore. And recovery is not necessarily how much you get, but how much profit you put in your pocket. If you can get 80% recovery in 3 hours, I mean, it's 78%. 78% recovery in 3 hours and 80% in 24 hours, it's stupid to go to 24. You're not making any money in that time period. Yeah. So,
Okay, I got a question. You and I talked about coarser grind versus finer. You want to try that?
I have the samples prepared.
Okay.
However, until I got the results from this, the two samples that are at the lab are defining things like what are the parameters of the solution that I need.
Right.
Once I've got the solution defined, then I will start working on varying the ore. Now, Chris and I talked it over. Hey, Tom. And we settled on 20 mesh, 35 mesh, and I think it's 65 mesh. But anyhow, I'm at 70. What I did was I took the dump material from the lower dump, and I ran it through the 20 mesh screen. Screened it to 20 mesh. Took the oversized, ran it through the RC46. Did it again, until I got 100% 20 mesh minus passing through the RC46 with minimal regrind. Right. It only had one chance to get stopped by this. Once it was smaller than 20 mesh, it was gone, even before the first grind. So then I blended that all up. I ran it through the splitter 5 times. I took 2 buckets and blend it. Split it. Move the splitter over there. Send each bucket through the splitter separately. And that does a really good blend. Tom Hensley says hi.
Hello.
Lincoln had a question, third one up. Will size affect the way that it backs things down? Well, that's the question. I guess that's kind of
the size will always have an effect. Particle size, the rock particles and the gold particles. In our case, we have pretty fine gold particles and a pretty aggressive leaching solution, apparently. So what's more likely to be a critical factor is mineral exposure. If the rock itself is fairly tight, then any gold particle inside it is going to be very hard for the leach solution to get to, and depending on the time frame used, potentially impossible to leach. On the other hand, if it's a looser rock, it's porous, then the solution will get to it eventually, and it will eventually diffuse out. And the question is, how fast do these things happen? And that's where this next set of tests, assuming that these samples I come back to find the leaching parameters pretty well, will be done. So I made the 20 mesh material, And I split that in two and set one bucket aside. I started out with 2 buckets. So I got 1 bucket of 20 mesh minus.
Okay.
I had another bucket, and I split it into 2 separate samples. Crushed one using the same process to 35 mesh, the other one to 70 mesh. And I don't have to tell you how long that process takes.
Yeah, and that's only 1 bucket.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
think of it in tons. If you have to go to that fine a grind, that's a cost issue.
Yeah, but I mean, by hand, it was extremely tedious. It took about 4 hours just to get the samples pressed.
Well, and if you can get it out at the 20 mesh, you got it made.
Oh, absolutely.
That just makes your life really simple.
Well, this is why you spend
All this time
the
right
time
here.
and money
Right.
on the
Process.
small scale testing.
Yep.
As I told my principal, I said, it's not very traumatic when you run a test on this scale and you go, crap, that didn't work. On the other hand, when you spend $20,000 building a mill
Or hundreds of thousands.
and
Yeah.
and you try and run it, and now that the term crap that didn't work becomes a whole different
Yeah. Little bit a financial issue going there.
yeah. Chris, it was just a single thing. I mean, what was it, Jimmy? How many people saw that one where he had that old, it was an exercise thing where it has the belt that goes backward, and they converted that to a shaker screen. Awesome! Just put your classifier in there, clamp it down. I mean, it was an amazingly effective action too, because it's just like this.
Yeah.
It was great.
Right through there.
Oh, that was awesome. It was amazingly efficient. But I say just for a test, yeah, the simplest thing is just do it by hand, get it done. It was only half a day. So I've got those samples prepared. As soon as I get the information back, then we can start testing the various grind sizes. And I said, I've got 3 grind sizes. I've got a 10 roll bottle each out there. I can make this happen.
Right. Well, I was just curious because I know we had talked about it, and I was like, okay, did we even try that yet? But
Yeah.
no, it makes total sense. And, you know, you got to start at one spot, do everything that you can to identify what's doable, and then start look at the other issues.
Yeah. I say, in this,
Or create the issues, I guess. But some of it you may be creating yourself a nightmare.
just taking my
The
drink.
Babylon Bee headlines have caught my attention.
Anyhow,
Rural Americans burn Kamala Harris at the stake for witchcraft after she shows them a photocopier.
anyhow, so using this graph here, what we're seeing is that pH is extremely important. These 12 pH ranges up here, which were a little higher than what I was shooting for, but the Eco Goldex itself has a certain alkalinity in its own. So when you get it adjusted where you want, then add the Eco Goldex, it'll go a little higher. Another thing that's interesting is if you can read the details here, the red line has a little bit less lime in it, and yet it came out substantially less pH. But I mean, it's the Eco Goldex is very low, so a lot of that pH change may be just due to Eco Goldex. So I'm thinking that it's entirely possible we might be able to get away without any lime because this stuff has dolomite in it, and the dolomite limestone may be alkaline enough to do the job all by itself, and then you won't have to worry about trying to get that balance real well.
If your numbers aren't hard enough.
You know, so we shall see what we shall see on that. But pH is definitely a major criterion. In the stuff I just sent off lab notes.
I think they're there. Can you give me the spiral binder there? Yep.
Okay. The first sample had about 7 pounds per ton of lime added to it, and it wound up at a pH of 11.3, and it stayed pretty much that way, dropped a little bit at the end. The second sample I did, I put no lime in it, and I got a pH, started it with the Eco Goldex at 10.4, then it dropped to 9.8, 9.75, 9.72, 9.8, 9.8, and 10.0. So it stayed very stable, right around 10 there. And if that's high enough for the Eco Goldex to work, then we may just completely ignore the lime part.
So them are nice numbers, Jeff.
Yeah. 2,466 zinc. I'm guessing that's 2.466%. That's my guess.
Yeah, that's 100 tons. After 300 tons of lead.
Yeah,
That number pretty nice numbers, man.
yeah, that's some dense stuff. That should get you a good gravity concentrate real easy, and then you work. At that point, you may just sell the gravity concentrate to a smelter if they'll give you a good return on everything. If not, you may want to leach some of the gold out of it first before you ship it off. Yeah. So, anyhow, that's what we're doing there in terms of the leaching. Now, leaching is only part of the process. Jeff, get the free gold. Oh yeah, you definitely want to, if you can, try and concentrate the free gold. Absolutely, but you can also theoretically get some of the other stuff too. When you're ready, get a hold of me and we'll play some games. I think we found some boulders.
Yep. Mine up here in the old farm somewhere.
I think so. So yeah, we can get together and have us some fun. Now, the leaching is the first step of getting the gold out of the rock. You now got it out of the rock. Okay, it's in the solution. How do you get it out of the solution? I guarantee you gravity separation will not work. So now you wind up with another step that has to be done. It can be done in multiple stages or single stage, depends on what it is. So let's try and do it again as simply, efficiently, and economically as possible. So one of the big questions in that is something called filtration. Because if it is easy to take your material and get a nice clean solution, then there's a couple of ways you can do it fairly simply. You could use a resin absorption or you could use direct electrowinning. Either one would work well. However, if you can't get a clean solution, you're going to have problems. Now this is called a Buchner funnel. It's got a bunch of holes in it, the platform. There's a rubber stopper here that's the wrong size, so I don't want to put it there. But basically, it goes like this. You hook a vacuum line over here, and you can put a vacuum on it. Now, that will usually do a fairly good job of filtration. However, the stuff, especially from the dump, it doesn't like the dump. It plugs up. Even with a sand bed in there, it still plugs up really bad. As in, it'll suck 1 inch of solution through in like 18 hours. And Chris is saying that we can theoretically get away with a pretty turbid solution also in electrolyte. The other thing that is used a lot is something called resin absorption, resin in pulp. Basically, you have beads of resin, the rock is ground really fine and screen to make sure that only the fine rock is there. You don't have big chunks. And then you put bigger chunks of ion exchange resin in it. And as all the stuff is leaching and dissolving and stuff, the resin is absorbing the gold directly out of solution at the same time. So that when you're done leaching, you just run it over a screen and the resin winds up on the screen, and you can take that to extract the gold out of the resin now. Now, you're going, we're moving the gold around a lot, but we're not getting to it. Well, yes, that is correct. But this is part of the problem with microfine gold. You can't get it directly. You got to be indirect. Yeah, but how well will that work with this kind of turbidity, Chris? That's the question. So once you've got it in the resin, you can take it and extract it out of the resin while regenerating the resin for reuse. And then you take a electroplating cell, basically. Particular kind's called an electrowinning cell. It's designed just to get stuff out in bulk, not to leave a nice finish. No, it's not magnetized. It's electroplating. It's like you're plating gold onto a ring or something like that. Except when you're doing classic electroplating, you're trying to get a nice surface look. When you're trying to electrowin, you don't care what it looks like as long as you yank it out of solution. When you're electroplating, your solutions are very carefully controlled. They don't have any dirt in them. They've got just what you want to electroplate using very specific voltages and things like that. Electrowinning is like at least that much voltage and crank up the amps. And you'll use a cathode, which is what the metal plates do. It has a lot of surface area.
Very similar, Lincoln. Like you said, except when you're chrome plating or whatever, you're using a certain amount of the chromium and everything in the solution, and you're trying to retract that. Where here, like you said, you're not caring about the finish. It's just a matter of make sure that you're pulling it, your gold or silver or copper out.
And it's not going to look pretty in general. When I used to work at Chem Gold, and we would strip our carbon, we do it on a steel wool, which has a lot of surface area, and also dissolves readily in acid, so you can get rid of the steel wool later quite easily without affecting the gold. You'd wind up with stuff that honestly looked a lot like rust, kind of a limonite colored rust looking crap. Very dense. And then you just flux it and smelt it. So you have electrowinning as a possibility. You have resin as a possibility. But no matter what you do, at some point, you really want to get most of the solids separated from your solution.
Oh, wow.
So this is where we're, I don't think you could, but you need a lot of amps, and it has to be steady. So you have to set up a battery bank and like that. But the train derailed there. What was I talking about again? Yeah. But anyhow, so solid liquid separation. Settling, you can do it in large volumes over long periods of time quite effectively. You guys settle your nasty stuff, and you got lots of clays and things like that. You set up those settling ponds.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
clean the water up.
You can get settling, but there's a time factor a lot of times involved.
Exactly.
Unless you're running a surfactant. Sometimes with a surfactant, you can get it to drop out.
Well, and you can also do things like what's known as a hydrocyclone.
Yeah.
Like a dust collector, things like that.
Yeah, you can.
And then there's just a number of ways to do it There's various kinds of settling devices, and we'll be doing some testing to see how well that works. Like powder coating separation solution. I think he's thinking like maybe the electrostatic.
Yeah, that's electrostatic. That's different.
No, you're with electrostatic, you're taking solid particles, giving them a charge, and then stick to another solid. In this case, you actually have ions. They're basically complexes, but they're like an ion. It's like dissolving salt in water. You can't just get it to move easily. You actually have to throw enough voltage on there to get it to plate. Yeah, the solution is charged. Yeah. So we have lots of things to work through there. Again, I started with the simple filter. Didn't work. Okay. The interesting thing about settling is that, I mean, like electrophoresis, very expensive. Probably work fine, but it would be expensive, Lars. That's a semi-permeable membrane that Chris was talking about. If the problem with getting the gold into solution is at the back end of the leach cycle is from crystal locking, I mean the gold being in the rock particles, those are the rock particles that are easy to separate from the rest because they're bigger. The finer rock particles that are not going to have any entrained gold are going to get leached very quickly. Therefore, a simple settling at that point should separate the remaining gold in rock from the rock that doesn't have any gold left in it, because it's going to float off. So, I say again, these are some of the things we're testing to see what the heck is actually happening. But those are some of the different ways we may approach the issues down the road there. It looks like we're getting real fast dissolution of the gold. It's plateauing out for some reason. If it's the chemistry, we fix it one way. If it's the physical location of the gold, we fix it a different way. But I'm pretty encouraged that 80% recovery in 3 hours.
That's pretty impressive.
That's pretty darn good.
That's impressive.
For a first go, that's very, very encouraging. So we're looking good there. And none of the stuff getting it out of solution should be horrendously challenging. I mean, maybe we're going to have to define parameters and do this, and maybe a fair amount of work to get it working smoothly and optimized. But you're not going to be probably looking for a breakthrough anywhere. It's just simple application of technology. How do you wire a house? One outlet at a time. That sort of thing. You just do it. Once you got your plan, you just execute the plan. I suspect that that's what's going to happen in terms of getting the gold out of solution. But as we go through this whole process, you guys get to watch and everything. And on the live streams, if you see the videos and you're confused or want to ask more questions, just like Lincoln and such and Lars here, go ahead. That's exactly what we like these live streams for. In terms of update on the Africa project, this week my financier contact from Europe asked me if I could start looking for a field geologist, a qualified field geologist. So I started with Rob McCullough. He referred me to a gentleman in Bozeman, who referred me back to a company here in Helena. And
I
that
can
guy,
give you some names of the company.
sure, absolutely. If anyone knows, here's the basic parameter. It is a currently small, but possibly going to mid-size or even a large deposit Um, yeah, I think Chris just gave me one there. If you could email that, there's no way I'm going to find that in all the comments, Chris. If you can email me that, that'll be fine. I'd love to. Um, they're looking for August and September of this year in Guinea, Africa. Security will be provided, good security. We've apparently had stuff going there for a couple of years. There's, what was it? 2,900 meters of reverse circulation holes, and like 46 auger holes down to 25 meters. A number of surface samples and such. They have a fair amount of data. There is a pretty good report that any qualified person could examine to see if it sounds interesting. And then once I've done the initial sort to find people who are theoretically qualified and are potentially interested, then I'll refer them up to corporate, who will then engage in more complex negotiations. This way I save them a lot of time and effort. So I agree, Chris. A what? Qualified field geologist. We need someone that can go out there, look at the ground, look at the drill results, direct a further sampling and potentially drilling program to target and define a small but profitable ore body. It doesn't have to be a huge one, but something where they can establish a pit and start processing, start making money, so they can kind of bootstrap this operation, and that will improve the extraction techniques work, etc. They already have a non-disclosure agreement with Clean Mining of Australia that will probably do all the metallurgical research, the extractive metallurgy. And they do not want to use cyanide there, although it's, I think, technically legal. They want to go with a non-toxic leach. So we are looking for a qualified field geologist. Probably not a graduate student, probably more experience than that. We need somebody who's been in the field for several years at a minimum and knows how to lead a small exploration team. So that's what we're looking for on that. If anyone has any leads on that, if you could email me at where is it? There it is. hardrockhugh@outlook.com, and just give me some contact information, and I'll go ahead and kind of sort through that a bit, see if we can't find someone who wants to do that. Believe the self issues and the fact that I'm already engaged here.
Anybody else having buffering issues?
Yeah, it may just be Chris's internet. He does that sometimes. Little one, can you check?
Yeah.
One second.
Okay.
I replied to myself.
Okay, Pat says no. It's probably Chris. Because that's happened to Chris before.
I'm working on getting to there.
But anyhow, so I say we're looking for a qualified field geologist for that. I am not a qualified field geologist. I know I may sound like I really know a lot, but a good qualified exploration geologist needs to be thoroughly versed in how these ore bodies form and this and that, so he can look at the data and guess with a good likelihood as to what's going on and where to take the next sample.
It's not buffering on my end.
Okay. Yeah, nobody else. He was getting it clean, Chris. So it's probably just you again. So anyhow, I say that's what we're looking at for that project there. I have not discussed, financial remuneration or anything like that with them. That's not my job. That would be between the geologist and management. Yeah, it's the damn microphone again. I'm not sure what's going on. We can't seem to get the stupid mic to do what it's supposed to do, or the YouTube to find the mic, or whatever. It's just so annoying, coal miner. Um, so that's what's going on with the Africa project. What's going on with you this week there, Jimbo?
Friday I'll be in the field with a geologist on their copper project. Maybe Saturday also. The rest of the week here is just around the operation here, doing some minor things. Nothing, kind of waiting the heat out too.
Don't know yet. Haven't heard, Chris. Haven't had any notifications. Of course, I probably shouldn't, but I haven't been told that it's been ordered yet. So we shall see what we shall see. What Chris is talking about is there should be a new microscope on the way, a good quality one that takes video and stills, etc., etc. It should be not only very useful, but also will help with the videos. You can actually see what the gold looks like in the bottom of the pan. It'll go up to 180 power. Quite often, it'll probably just be around 30 or something like that would be my guess. But that should be on its way sometime fairly soon. But I don't have any word yet. So you're out in the field dodging the heat and the forest fires.
Yeah,
By the way,
unfortunately, that's where we're at.
Don't camp in a tent with pork rinds. That's what I
Is that
hear.
what they said? Is that what they blamed it on?
That's what
Yeah, whatever.
somebody told me. I don't know. In case you folks from outside Montana don't know, we had a grizzly bear fatal mauling a few days ago.
Yeah, just up the road, not too far.
About 60 miles.
Up in my favorite area where I'm doing a lot of work.
Yeah. And actually, it was inside city limits. Or something,
It was.
wasn't it?
Yep, it was right, but it's not much. It's just a small town. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a biker. She had her tent, stayed in her tent, and unfortunately got kind of eaten.
I hear it wasn't just I mean, it was actually
Yeah,
a predation event.
Yeah, it was not good. It was
Yeah.
not good from what I heard.
So, my information, the people I've talked to here, I think Jim would agree. Years and years ago, they'd hunted the grizzly bears pretty good, and there weren't too many of them, and they weren't much of a problem. Then they put a moratorium on grizzly bears, and they protected them and stuff, and so they now thrive, and there's piles of grizzly bears.
Yeah, we're way over abundance of them now.
And yet the environmentalists won't allow Fish and Game to put a season on them. They're politically they keep putting pressure on and stuff, and so the ability to thin out the grizzly bears has now been seriously impeded, resulting in a hungry grizzly bear abundance, which is not a good thing.
Well, evidently she had a purse or something, but there was other people who I think knew who she was
Yeah.
also. That did come running in after they realized what was going on, but at that point it was a mess.
Too late. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Let's say so. That is why I always carry the 44, which honestly I think is a little light for grizzly bear, but it's better than nothing. It's better than a sharply worded statement.
The thing is, and even the people that I meet up in the woods don't take it seriously, and it's like, this is serious. You talk to any of the ranchers up in the area, like where I've been and that, I mean, everybody's carrying around shotguns and slugs and buckshot or big rifles and big handguns. And there's a reason, because they're getting so thick. I mean, last year I bumped into more bears than I've ever seen. I couldn't believe in the areas that we were in. It was like, there's a grizzly bear, and an hour later over the hill, there's another one. And it's like, yep, that's not the same one we've seen, half an hour ago.
And that also means they're generally hungry.
Well, at some point, that's exactly the problem. Is they're going to compete for food, and you might be the next meal ticket.
when you think about it, humans are really not very difficult prey.
No, we might even be tasty. I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, we're not very nutritional as omnivores, though.
Yeah.
The nutritional value of human bodies is on the low scale.
Because you can call him and he may even be able to put it onto another couple of each
What is your preferred method of recovering the gold from the leach? Zinc, electrowinning? Probably electrowinning if it works well. Zinc is a possibility, or powdered aluminum works too. Zinc is, kind of the go-to standby from last century. The powdered aluminum will do the same thing, is my understanding. Resin. One problem with zinc is you have to filter the cemented gold out of the solution after you put in the zinc. If you got a nasty, turbid solution, that's going to be a problem. So if you can't get a clean solution to work with, that's not a good way of doing it because of all the other dirt you're going to have to deal with. It's going to plug your filters and like that. So zinc is a simple method, but you have to have a clear solution. Electrowinning is less sensitive, and as far as I know, resin is essentially insensitive to that. Catherine Berwin through Crystal. Yeah, I have a philosophy when it comes to wild animals. Once they don't fear me, they die. That's my basic philosophy. Because a wild animal, be it a grizzly bear or a 250-pound buck, can kick my ass. If they don't fear me, they're a danger. And the way you get them to fear you is you hunt them. We have people who will pay money to solve the problem. Hey, nice. Carbon and pulp, I don't think will work well on a thio solution there, Chris. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hey, Goldstream, how's that going?
Goldstream.
I've tried some flocculant testing. In the initial stages of high turbidity, where you're probably looking like 5% solids, or at least 1% solids, doesn't work too well. If you could settle out to where you're getting pretty, less than 1% solids or something, it might work pretty well then. Don't know, haven't got the testing done. I just tried a quick shot at, okay, here's my leach slurry. Let's throw some, flocculant in there, shake it up, and see how fast it settles. Answer, not a heck of a lot faster than it did before, but something. It was an improvement. White supremacists seem to. Yeah, we want to see how long it is before YouTube gets rid of the OK sign, because of course that's a white supremacist symbol now. Yeah, it's getting pretty
Yeah, even mines are illegal now.
Going good, HB, you guys.
How about you guys?
Oh, we're doing good with the exception, of course, Eva's got some issues. We finally got an appointment with a specialist, the 26th of August or something? But, yeah, that's much safer, Lars. Absolutely. They won't throw you in jail for that, I don't think, yet. Well, 4chan hasn't attacked that one yet. But what's this going to be the next?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, she has a diagnosis. Do you want me to tell the rough details?
Yeah.
Okay. She has dysplasia of her gums and some of the mouth lining, and that's a precancerous condition. It has to be treated by being surgically removed, and they cannot be certain that there's no cancer anywhere yet. They will have to do the surgery and pathologists check everything out, etc. They also cannot tell how extensive the situation is until they do the surgery. They will have to remove all the bad stuff and a little bit of good stuff, and whether if that means some of her jaw too, it means some of her jaw too. It could get quite unpleasant, and they may have to do reconstructive surgery by taking parts and pieces from other spots and rearranging them and putting her back together.
Just random chunks from arms and legs, it's no big deal.
So she's handling it mentally pretty well. Obviously, it's an unpleasant situation to be in, but she's hanging together okay. And at this point, the situation appears to be treatable and recoverable in terms of at the end she should be functional. She'll need dentures, but that's okay. She's getting to the point where she's going to need them anyhow. And it's going to be a bit of a recovery. They anticipate a month or more of significant to serious discomfort before it's kind of mellowing out to a more reasonable, normal level. So that's the situation that she's looking at, and we really appreciate all the prayers and the well wishes and the support. Psychologically, it's just so helpful to know that everyone is so supportive, and that hopefully all the prayers and everything will smooth things out.
I have a box.
And we will go ahead and say we don't know how bad it is for sure, but unless there's some actual cancer there, it should be treatable. Okay, so hopefully they don't have to get into the more significant surgeries and stuff. Okay, and we have just a bunch of people: Patrick Jones, David, Reed, Goldstream, everyone sending you the best wishes and prayers and stuff like that.
Thank you.
So anyhow, then that's what this was all about. Somebody, Kansas sent box. Supposedly, I'm guessing it has pretty rough. And so we appreciate that very much. And the Peter from Prospector Trip, we appreciate these things. Financially, we're doing fine. There's some other interesting things. Kind of hang in there to the end of the night if you can. But the situation seems to be relatively under control. It's just going to be really unpleasant for a while. That's all. Silver, fluorocarbon, impregnated activated carbon, silver ferrocyanide. Oh, let's see, ferrocyanide. Heat carbon, silver nitrate. That's correct, Goldstream, but it will become cancerous, and it is growing, and the inside of her mouth is becoming less functional on a continuous basis. So it must be taken care of, and the sooner the better. It's frustrating to have to wait this long, but from what Eve was saying, it's just a damn good thing we're not in certain other countries that have universal health care, and by the time they treat you, you're dead. So anyhow, financially we're doing well. Emotionally we're doing fairly well, and we're pushing the medical envelope as fast as it'll move. We're getting help. I mean, the doctors are supportive. Specialist finally called up today to set up an appointment, and that's where we're at right now. But we're working vigorously on the problem. And as Chris says, dysplasia isn't cancerous until it is. Once they'll start going plastic, they can mutate and become cancerous quickly. Yeah, that may be the VA too. I'm not arguing on that one, David. But yeah, I'm doing good. I am really busy right now doing all kinds of interesting things, which is just great for my psychology. Coulter was here last week, and we got everything done by noon. So we went out fishing. I haven't been fishing in a while. And he had a couple of dogs, and it was hot. And so we went out to just below Hauser Dam there, and his dogs could play in the water and stuff. And I went fishing, and Colter went canning. By the way, there's a very large lead deposit down there. It's in these little round balls, and sometimes they're kind of skinny balls and stuff. But there's a lot of lead in the cracks below Hauser Dam. Trust me. And caught a couple of good sized trout. And so yeah, we're hanging in there. Nowhere close to falling apart at this point. You guys are a big help. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the support and everything. So I say that's the situation. And Eva will be here this evening for her tinfoil hat report. You got anything for the tinfoil hat report, little one?
I have a couple of articles in the read.
Okay.
There's nothing seriously major out there since we're staying away from really controversial topics. Because I don't know if anybody's noticed, but all our tech is becoming thought police and speech police
Yeah.
and starting to tell us we're extremists.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to behave.
Okay. So anyhow, she will be here for that, and then she'll be doing the unboxing for present also. And then in the second half of the show, we have some interesting stuff lined up.
Like your last video there, Goldstream. That was good. Good video.
I'm not subscribed to this.
Aren't you? Oh, you should be.
Wow.
If they add that to your list of things
Well, let's
to do.
see. We go here, go to that. Is it Goldstream? Is that
Yeah.
what it's called?
He's got some good videos to go back and
Come on, you stupid search thing. ULD. What is going on?
I don't know. Probably not what.
G O L D S. And you guys can't see it, but I mean, I typed in Goldstream. It had like M's. That was it.
What the hell? Oh, that was good.
Goldstream. And Goldstream Mini. Yeah, I'm gonna have to type it all in. It still doesn't just give it to me directly. Let's see. So there he is, 314 subscribers. Subscribe, notifications.
This video was really good.
Okay.
The last one that just come out this week.
Alrighty. Oh. Ah, good for you, David. Does this person know prospecting well, and is it a male or female?
I love my healer, David. That's one of the best dogs I've ever owned, and I've had a lot of dogs over the years. My blue healer is my best friend.
Cool, Gulfstream. That's sad, David. But I want to congratulate you for doing what needed to be done and not farming it out to someone else and making sure it got done right. So, yeah, I don't think in Arizona you're even allowed to shoot your dog anymore. I think you have to take it to the vet. And have it
Really?
fixed. I'm serious.
Oh, Montana, you can still.
Ridiculous.
Well, I think that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, actually. That or a good horse.
Never had that. He even said that.
I mean, I honestly believe I think I could take somebody else out a lot easier than taking my dog out.
We won't discuss details on
Yeah,
that because
yeah.
YouTube will shut us down. Jeez. Yeah, exactly, David. Eva said that when she was younger, she spent her times in the summer in Maine.
Yeah.
Her uncles, they had a couple of draft horses they used for logging and stuff.
Yeah.
And there was this one horse, I forget, was it Morgan?
Mhm.
And something went wrong. I think the log rolled down and landed on the horse and broke its back, and it was screaming. And he says he ran to the truck as fast as he could, got his pistol, shot it, and then just laid there crying.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
You know, it's unfortunate that the end comes.
The worst sound ever is a screaming horse. I mean, there's nothing that sounds like a horse.
But anyhow, so now that we've got everyone all cheered up.
On to bigger and better.
Yeah, as a farmer, David, you know the circle of life, so to speak.
You deal with reality.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is real because one mistake, whether it's life or death or just in a crop or something else, you're dealing with reality.
Yep.
That's cool, Goldstream. That was a really, I like that video though. That was a very good portrayal of a drainage with, some neat things to look at.
Wow. Several 40-foot trailers worth of junk? Wow. That's a mess. Yep. And, so, yeah, when I went down to the dam this time, there was also some trash there. I didn't have anything to really carry it back. I think I'm going to try and take a trash bag with me from now on, because this is the first time I went down there with any trash at
Oh,
all.
it's probably low enough that you start to see it.
No. It was just, this is fresh stuff. As a matter of fact, I went back there, was it yesterday, Lou? Yeah, I went back yesterday, and there was new trash in the end
That
spot.
is ridiculous.
That is.
Yeah.
That,
Disgusting.
Yeah,
And I was just talking to somebody in California about that earlier today. She goes hiking with this spark, and she said it's disgusting. She comes out of there with 2 large trash bags every time she goes, and she goes twice a day. And I said, we almost never see trash in the park here. I can walk around Spring Meadow, and I will see no trash. I can walk up at Mount Helena, and see no trash. So this has got to be tourists or somebody that moved here from California, because city people do not trash.
yeah. I mean, it's just a basic thing, if you pack it in, you pack it out, sort of thing. But some people just don't seem to care, and that's just a shame. But anyhow, as I caught 3 fish yesterday, but only one good size. When I was here with Coulter, got 2 good ones. That second one, I was like 3 pounds or something. It was 20 inches and more. That's fun. Yeah, it was pulling some drag, and I have fairly small reels,
Yeah.
so they're easier to cast. And I chucked it out of ways, and this thing's taking drag, and I'm looking at my reel going,
Gotta run out of line.
I don't have to palm it. I've had that happen to me a couple times where I got schooled,
Oh, yeah.
and both times I was able to bring the fish in.
You can catch it before it hits the last end of the stretch where she snaps.
Well, say that's where you just got to,
say,
you're doing this sort of thing,
Yeah,
and then trying to get it started on the
Yeah.
reel again. Yeah, I had one that was off San Diego, and I had a big surf reel, spinning reel, and I mean it fooled me. It was the knot it was holding on. I caught it. It was the biggest fish of the day, 40-pound white sea bass. But yeah,
Yeah, gold
Always
stream.
sign off.
When you see the rock piles like that, you know that the gold had to be good. Otherwise, they would have never done that kind of work.
as I like to say, they didn't do it for the exercise.
No, they didn't do it for the exercise.
That they saved for the bar. Anyhow, so it's pretty warm here, so even I haven't been trying too hard to get out in the field. There's also been some issues, like with the doctors where we need to kind of hang close a little bit, wait for phone calls sometimes. and I've been doing all this lab testing. He was getting a little cabin fever. So am I. So hopefully we'll get some time in the next week or so to get out there and get some more videos out of Montana Bee.
Yeah.
And get some more sampling done because we're doing two different things at once: the metallurgical testing and the sampling. And that's nice because you can, while you're waiting for one to come back, you can be doing the other and vice versa from the lab. Comes in handy. I'm just curious if I've ever gotten an assay on that stuff I sent out. Now, when I said that I had taken 2 buckets and screened it to 6 to 20 mesh, fresh salt, and then blended it and split it. Now, the reason I did that, folks, was I now have almost 200 pounds of rock in 3 different styles that are all one head grade. And that's what I'm waiting for here. Still haven't got the head grade yet, but I'm waiting for that assay. By doing it that way, I don't spend a lot of time or money getting head grade assays. I mean, in a big company, they probably make separate samples and do stuff or whatever. At camp, they have that 16 sample wheel sort of thing. But that was the idea, so that I got one head grade sample and I can apply it to a lot of different tests. David Reed wants to know
For panning, David, or gold hunting, or just for a vacation?
Yeah, it'd be nice if you could find the morons.
And then the other question, David, is when? Because like right now, we're getting close to where they may raise this hunting, fall hunting. Hunting gold, I assume.
Goldstream, you're in Canada, aren't you?
Yeah, British Columbia.
Man, up there too, huh?
Yeah, well, it's everywhere. We're under the same crap.
These people all think the same. They think that beef
Gold
comes from the
prospecting.
grocery store. I know down there south of Butte, along the Jefferson River there.
Any of the out of Dillon, down around Argenta, Grasshopper Creek, Bannock. There's
We just went to 10 Mile Creek with me and
Boulder.
Yeah, we found some stuff. Oh, there's gold.
Actually, there was some big nuggets taken right here in town.
Not where we were there.
Well, yeah, well, that's how it goes.
Surface.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it.
David, email
Charter-rich environment.
Keith here at Hard Rock. Give us an email, and I can probably send you some information, or throw some maps your way. Email them back to you.
Lars, I'm not sure if you're being serious or not. Did they get away? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope it doesn't get to that, Lincoln, but it's getting harder and harder. I think
We've been trying not to go that route yet, Lincoln, but yeah, it might be coming.
Okay, David. Here we go. It's pretty easy to remember. Hard Rock U at Outlook.com.
Pull that corner down.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And if you're going to be up in this Helena area or something, we could probably come up with a time and get out. We could get you out somewhere. I know quite a few areas, so.
And if you lose that, David, you can just go to the front of any of my videos, and it'll no, not the front, the back, I believe. Oh, no, it's the front now. It's my, that's the same as my, PayPal account number. Now,
Yeah, so it'll be on the video.
yeah, so it says now PayPal.
It's on the video
hardrockhewitt.com.
now, too.
Yeah, the Cubans are, revolting now.
Well, they're starving.
Yeah, well, the South Africans are going
Yeah,
crazy
well,
too at the moment.
Well, and some of the financial experts have said that the emerging market countries are going to see it before we do, but we're going to see it here soon too. I think. Inevitably.
There's a Wisconsin school district that's gone insane.
No, what's new? School district or just school board?
No, school district.
I doubt that everyone in it is insane. It's just the school board, I would think.
Well, they're providing sexually explicit books to third graders and the material teach your students how to use sex acts. So yeah, I say that's pretty good.
Yep, and they wonder why we're resisting.
Goldstream, I heard tonight here in Montana, there's some towns here that want to go completely green energy. They were working with the power company to go completely green energy, and I'm like, that's a wonderful idea. They should sign a deal with them and immediately tear down all the power lines leaving town so that they're stuck with their green energy and see how it works.
I love that idea.
Because they're going to find out that it isn't going to work.
Here's a technical term. It is not a mature technology.
No, it's a long way from being anything that's going to work. Yeah, it's full of geniuses, rainbows and unicorns. Geez, it's just sickening.
What's the tag cost for a unicorn?
I don't know.
You ain't know about this endangered species?
No, it gets crazier every day.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I agree, David. It's wishful thinking, and it's so far from the technology. We may get there, but it might take another 40 years to get there.
Now they're going to need to come up with
And you're not going to do it without oil, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, David, they call it a John Deere.
Yeah. These, a lot of these.
Draft horses rule.
He was a big fan of those.
Well, the thing is, you can't park two John Deeres next to each other and have them give birth to a baby lawnmower.
No. No, that's true.
This is the problem.
But there's downside to the horses and stuff too.
Well,
You
yeah,
couldn't
but
feed the
outside-
population with horses.
Not
Yeah.
the way we are right now.
Yeah, now with this number of people, it would simply not be possible. People do not have a good understanding of
Reality.
how much energy density there is in fossil fuels.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
It's insane.
I'm not saying that we could go back to non-mechanized. I am saying that if you want to run a small regenerative farm,
Oh, yeah.
family,
Well, the neighborhood, right, in the area, you could. Oh, yeah, you could.
Absolutely. We need to get away from monoculture because monoculture really is a climate disaster.
Well, Patrick, that's how they look at it. You can just wish it and just talk about it and it's gonna happen, and it's like, not quite.
The Goldstream, is that company that was using like autoclaving with some steam to break down the organics into a petroleum-like substance? And again,
Yeah, they're
you
doing
want to
it
bet
with plastic.
that if they actually do it, some green company is going to say, oh
See-
no,
see
it
if you
creates
can find-
hazardous waste. What?
Yeah, this came from Colorado, by the way.
Mhm.
I have no idea who it came from in Colorado.
Get there.
Well, they got something called Kansas in the email there. Cielo, huh? You know what cielo means? It means the sky.
Oh, yeah, that's true, Chris.
Yeah, if you,
I mean, any,
just roughly separated, yeah.
anything that can be reprocessed and reused should be.
There's so much bio waste that goes to the landfill over
Well,
in Tucson.
There's a lot of waste in general that goes that shouldn't.
Yeah, well, as I work construction over there, and a lot of times at the end of the day, since I had a pickup, I'd be taking the trailer to the dump and emptying it.
Mm-hmm.
And see all this landscaping waste and stuff, and all that could be processed into
Something.
fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah, goes from, yeah, like almost any organic, food waste, everything. Yeah. And then the glass you can just grind up into sand. Metals, of course, can be recycled pretty well. Yeah, as soon as you sit there and come up with something like that, then they'll come up for some reason why you can't use like nuclear power,
Oh, yeah, regulated out of existence.
It works. Well, we can't have that.
It's too cheap.
Simply unacceptable.
Unbelievable. Yeah. All right. Back to mining.
Yeah, Goldfinger, I think I read about that like 5 or 10 years ago. They just basically heat it up, and I think the breakthrough is they don't dry it. The water actually helps break everything down when you heat it.
It is time.
You're speeding up the moment.
It is time.
Uh-oh. Okay. I think I hear a tinfoil hat being rattled.
Absolutely, because
Well,
I
we'll
want
turn
my
it over.
unboxing.
We'll turn it over
I
to the
want-
star of the show here.
I need a knife.
Yes, I know.
All right.
I'm getting one. Be careful. These are going to be sharp ones. I like mine.
Guys, guess what? I got a box. I never get boxes, okay? I mean, I never ever get boxes. I now have a box. And when I rattle it, it feels like a solid object, like the size of a brick solid object. So maybe somebody sent me a brick. We're going to find out.
Oh. And this was from Kansas. That's a person, not a location.
Well,
You need
okay,
assistance.
since let's see if we can find
A point of attack?
yeah, I need a point of attack here. We're hermetically sealed.
Well, at least that way it's
Okay, I'm pulling my gender card. I am I'm like a blonde. It may look brown. It's camouflage, okay? I'm totally blonde. I can't open boxes, so there's cutting it open. Cutting the box.
You know what you call a blonde who dyes their hair brown? Artificial intelligence.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, actually, the hair is blonde, and it was never actually blonde. But my box is open. Oh, cool. Wait a minute. Ooh. It says, if I am reading rightly, garnet and kyanite from somewhere, and double terminated quartz. Double terminated quartz. So let's see. Ooh. Oh wow. There's something wrapped up in paper here. Oh. Ooh. Look at these. Look at that. They're so pretty. Just little guys. We got little guys here. We got some little guys. Oh,
I'll get lost pretty easily.
woo.
Now they packed it pretty well because it felt like a single object in there.
Yeah, this was stacked amazingly. Oh, look at this one.
Good
That
lord.
is one
That's
heck of a
a
garnet.
beautiful
That's a
garnet.
giant garnet.
That is a very
That,
giant.
that has first place in the garnet contest for sure.
That is first place in my garnet collection so far.
Wow, nice drop.
Oh my word. Look at this piece of labradorite.
Oh,
people.
somebody knows that
Oh.
Eva loves Labradorite.
Oh, look at that. My word, look at the flash on that one. Oh, oh, it's beautiful. Oh, thank you. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's beautiful.
That's gorgeous. That's
Feel
some pretty
that.
stuff, isn't
Oh,
it? That is beautiful.
oh, it is a beautiful piece of labradorite.
Wow,
Oh,
that is gorgeous.
double checking all the little pieces of paper. And there's another one right here of some kind. Let's see what we got.
That was pretty sweet.
Oh, another. Whoa, there you are.
Don't break it.
Another larger crystal. Very pretty one. It's got a lot of occlusions and angels inside it. Oh, that is so cool. It's full of angels. I love them when they're full of angels. Oh, a very nice piece of kyanite. That's a pretty piece of very nice color. Oh,
Here's another one.
oh, 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 look at this cool piece of pyrite. Oh,
What's that
wow.
thing sticking out there? Be careful, that's
The minor on there.
okay. Somebody
That's a little
glued it on
liner
there.
sitting on a, it's a little
Pile of
liner
gold,
sitting on
huh?
a pile of pyrite.
Yep.
That's pretty.
That is so pretty. Thank you. Oh, wow. I got the first box. I never get boxes. It was so cool to actually get something in the mail that wasn't a bill or from a doctor's office or something, you know. And all those nasty, ridiculous things. So thank you very much, Nancy. That was
I don't feel
Thank
anything.
you. It's so beautiful. Now I can set up a crystal garden somewhere and I can put these right in the middle of it. They're all so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Crystals do distract. So crystals distract you from looking for gold when you find them, huh? Well, crystals are amazing. They can keep the gold. I want crystals. So, speaking of crystals and stuff, I know this is totally not a gold mining thing, but I found this article and I was just totally amazed. Okay, because Petra has managed to fetch over $40 million for a 39 karat blue diamond, and you won't be able to see the picture, I don't think, or it's not very well. But it is one heck of a beautiful blue diamond. South Africa's Petra Diamonds has fetched $40.2 million for a 39.34 karat blue diamond it recovered at its iconic Cullinan mine in April, the company's highest price ever for a single stone. It means the buyer, a partnership between diamond giant De Beers and Diacor, paid $1,021,357 per carat. This is a new milestone for Petra, which follows the sale of the 299 karat Type 2A white diamond in March this year, and 5 blue diamonds comprising the Lapa Kawa collection in November 2020. Petra's Blue Moon of Josephine diamond, cut from a 29 karat rough blue, sold for $48.5 million in 2015. The figure corresponds to a price of $4 million per carat, which remains the world record price per carat ever paid for a diamond at auction. Cullinan is known as the world's most important source of blue diamonds, as well as being the birthplace of a 3,106 karat Cullinan diamond, which was cut to form the 530 karat Great Star of Africa. The operation also yielded the 317 karat Second Star of Africa, the 2 largest diamonds in the British Crown Jewels. Type 2B diamonds are so rare their age has not been established. Recent studies on minerals trapped inside these diamonds imply they are among the deepest formed diamonds ever found, created at depths in excess of 500 kilometers below the Earth's surface. And I saw that and I was like, oh yeah, oh yeah, me want, yeah, white diamonds are just so boring. They're really ridiculous. Not all that much else news is going on in the diamond world, except in the Congo, they're finally moving forward with their plans to buy cobalt directly from artisanal miners. As it stands right now, a good proportion of the cobalt that is being mined in the Congo is mined by artisanal miners in horrible conditions, environmentally speaking and safety speaking. This is totally ridiculous, unsafe bullshit that is going on. The government is finally deciding to do something about it because as it stands now, these artisanal miners end up selling their cobalt at totally ridiculous, extortionate, low prices to China, of course. I mean, we all know Candyland is going to be behind this somewhere. And the government had said a couple of years ago that they were going to start buying from artisanal miners and getting them to license their mines, get a little card, giving them safety instructions, and giving them a very basic regulatory framework to work in. Things like, you know, don't dig tunnels that are going to fall on you and crush you or your small children to death, kind of stuff. So let's hope that this time they actually go through with the plan because the artisanal miners have been waiting for this now to go forward for almost a year. And it's not that they don't want to be safe over there. It's that nobody has given them a framework to be safe in, and they need to eat. So, you know, when you need to eat and the only person paying you is Candyland, and Candyland is hideously underpaying you, there's an incentive to get more people in the market. So we can only hope that that does go forward. It would be good for the miners in the Congo, which would be an absolutely wonderful thing, as far as I'm concerned. Now, in the rather tinfoil hat side of things, as we discussed last week, various federal governments, including our own federal government, are looking at getting into digital currency, as in things like Bitcoin. Oh, yay, you know, I mean, we've got Bitcoin, we've got Ethereum, we want Bitcoin. So, there was an interesting thing that came out this week on the issue. The general manager for the Bank of International Settlements, in case you didn't know, this is the central bank of central bankers, okay, this is the uber boss central bank here, is planning for absolute control of all the money we spend. Quote, okay, Augustine Carson recently gave a talk entitled Cross-Border Payment, A Vision for the Future, in which he outlined the problem as central planners see it, as well as their solution. Quote, we don't know who's using a $100 bill today, and we don't know who's using a $1,000 peso bill today. The key difference with CBDC is the central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. That's what a dollar bill is to them, an expression of central bank liability. Also, we will have the technology to enforce that. Oh, wow. This is just such a wonderful thing. Really. Mm-hmm. Carstens views CBDC, central bank digital currency, as a tool for eliminating privacy and for central bankers to force citizens to use currency exactly when, where, and how they're told, apparently. Dozens of central banks around the world are working on CBDCs, including the Federal Reserve. The effort represents a major escalation in the war on cash. It's one thing to discourage people from using cash. It is something else entirely to introduce digital money which gives bureaucrats the power to monitor and control the spending of regulatory boxes. Novel ideas are already being floated. For example, the Federal Reserve could issue stimulus funds with an expiration date.
forcing people to spend rather than save. I wonder if they would do that with Social Security funds down there. Oh, yeah, oh, obviously not. I may wear a tinfoil hat, but even I'm not that paranoid. Officials could limit spending to certain geographic boundaries and impose restrictions on travel. They could pick winners and losers, favoring some merchants or industries over crushing others. The only fly in the ointment is mistrusting governments is rising quickly in the U.S. Wow.
Gee, I wonder why.
Gee, I wonder why. Wow. Oh, that couldn't possibly be true. Now, could it? I mean, our federal government loves us. Our federal government is truly looking after our best interests. Absolutely. Yeah. Getting people who fear giving officials that much control and who care about privacy to adopt the new digital money could be a challenge. Many will actively seek alternatives such as Bitcoin or gold. Central banks and governments do have some powerful levers to pull, however. It's easy to imagine government transfer payments being converted to digital currency. Social Security, Medicare, welfare, food stamps, and other benefits could be paid using the new CBDC. Government could also insist vendors and contractors take payments exclusively in the new token. We can also expect plenty of assurances from people like Carson. Remember him, he's the favorite central bank over all the other central banks. They will promise to be fair and protect people's liberty. They will say the goal is to make central bank policy work better for everyone. They will also insist they're trying to protect society from criminals, tax thieves, money launderers, and terrorists. The only question is whether the public will buy what the central bankers are saying. Now, I found this article to be very interesting because I am actually a pretty well-informed person. I was aware that we have government banks, like the Bank and the Bank of England and all. I was aware we had central banks over the federal banks, like the IMF and the banking policy that you implement. I had never wondered, for some reason, so who are the people above the central bank? And it turned out it is the general manager for the Bank of International Settlements. So I'm going to have to start reading up on this Bank of International Settlements and find out exactly who those people are, because they seem to have some pretty bizarre ideas here. Of course, they're not the only people at the moment that are having bizarre ideas. I heard this wild and unfounded rumor. Well, I thought it was a wild and unfounded rumor until I actually took a look at my Facebook page. There was this crazy story running around on the internet that Facebook was popping up warnings that you may have been exposed to abuse. I was like, no. And, Facebook may be idiotic, but I don't know if they're that idiotic. So I went to check my Facebook page, which I have not looked at in weeks because I intend on deleting the darn thing as soon as humanly possible. And it had kicked up a memory from a couple of July 4th ago, which was a meme of an American flag, and it said Happy Independence Day after this, some terms and conditions apply, that I had posted. And lo and behold, I had gone into Facebook like the day before or 2 days before, and I had liked everybody's post of their favorite American flag pictures. My Facebook feed was covered with this really weird message from Facebook. Alert, you may have been exposed to extremists. You can click here to contact us, to get help, to figure out how to deal with these extremists. And I was like, wow. I wonder if Facebook can help. Well, I mean, they certainly wouldn't do something like that. I mean, that would be just utterly rude, ridiculous, and crazy. But of course, since I had also received several really nasty messages from disgusting leftists, I reported the leftists, since obviously those are the extremists that Facebook is talking about. And then I shut down all the Facebook notifications, and then I got 4 notifications from Facebook that said I was being a very bad person because the people I reported had not violated community standards at all, and if I didn't behave, I was going to get suspended again. Oh dear. I think there's been some sort of miscommunication there. And apparently the miscommunication is now spread beyond Facebook because Senorita Circleback was saying that, you know, the the minions of Lord Malarkey and Lady Heels Up are going to be patrolling the neighborhoods of America to go door to door to educate us on how easy and safe it is to get the COVID vaccine. If they arrive at my door, naturally, I'm going to tell them the truth. I have discussed it with my doctor, and I know exactly where to go to get it. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Go away. Um, it turns out that Lord Malarkey and company have also been talking to their minions in certain alphabet agencies, and those certain alphabet agencies are going to be monitoring social media looking for extremists, which I find rather interesting. I find it even more interesting that for some reason, the District of Columbia Capitol Police have gotten so darn popular and their job has gotten so big that they may be opening branch offices in cities other than the District of Columbia. I have no idea why that would be the case. I really don't. I mean, I see no reason why the Capitol Police would be anywhere other than the Capitol, but with everything else going on in the world, it obviously has something to do with climate change. And it definitely has something to do with racism. And it most likely has something to do with climate change, like everything else. Be that as it may, if one believes Senorita Circleback and the wonderful, all-seeing and all-knowing administration of Lord Malarkey and Lady Heels Up, the fact that our inflation has now hit 5% is actually great news. And no, there is no need to raise the interest rates and stop the incredible borrowing of money back and forth between banks because the 5% inflation rate is absolutely a sign that our economy has never been healthier. In fact, it has not been this healthy since the 1980s. And it's pretty much getting to the point where it's going to be almost as healthy as the 1970s, which we all remember Jimmy Carter. Those days were just, they were bigger, they were bolder, and they were better, apparently, because we're going right back to them. I'm just getting so nostalgic, such a well of nostalgia for disco camps and the hustle and lava lamps and 20% interest rates on loans and things like that. Oh, I can't wait. Can you? Yeah, I had seen the things about the lines of credit being shut off the industry. It doesn't surprise me. I think it's going to get worse, and I think the industries that get shut off are going to be very probative as to what is in what is in store, what people have in mind. Kind of like how Bill Gates, the incredible cheeseburger addict, started pushing that everyone needs to eat fake meat, except of course him, right after he started buying farmland and now is the largest private owner of farmland in the United States. I think that what we need to watch is what they are shutting off credit to figure out what they're going to attack next. Because, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I'm kind of getting the impression that these people do not necessarily have the best interest of the American people at heart. I am probably just being a cynic and paranoid. But, yeah, inflation has gone up. And as to that job report, yeah, what they neglected to put in there, apparently, 980,000 jobs were created, but if you actually really start digging through the data, A job being created doesn't mean that it's a job that anybody is actually doing. There's funny stuff going on the Bureau of Labor and Statistics website that I've got to start keeping a closer eye on in between research and other things, because we're not seeing a very accurate on government websites. Oh, but in an aside, in the mining department, some of the people in Congress with R's after their names, and may or may not actually be conservatives, we all know how that goes, are actually pressing for answers from the eco-terrorists that Biden has nominated to head the Bureau of Land Management. And they're not even the usual suspects. I mean, we expect Cruz and Rand Paul and a couple of other people in the Senate who are positioning themselves for bigger and better things to trumpet the conservative noises that we all want to hear. I forget who it was, but the dude that was asking the questions of the eco-terrorists was actually not one of the usual suspects. So there may be some interesting things going on in the Senate. It may be that some members of the Uniparty are beginning to get a little concerned about how things are going in the reign of Lord Malarkey. I don't know, but I do know that I'm expecting the eco-terrorist to tell yet another doctored version of the story that she has told 4 versions of so far concerning her ties to the tree spiking incident and sending threatening letters to the Forest Service about the same. She can protest all she wants that she just sent those letters because she felt intimidated and feared for her life. Her actual actions throughout her life, the gentleman she's married to, the types of books he has written, the types of things she has said, the types of organizations that she supports, like Earth First, tell something of a different story. While I don't think we'll be lucky enough to dodge this bullet, we will probably end up with an eco-terrorist in charge of the Bureau of Land Management. There is still a slight chance we will end up without, if we do end up with her, I have no idea what's going to happen, but getting anything off the BLM website these days other than rah-rah woke articles about everything plus important policy changes that they are working on in the background is kind of difficult. So I'm just going to keep an eye on it, And no, our government does not publish accurate any statistics for free. They've been changing the formulas they use to create the statistics on a regular basis for the past couple of decades. And those changes are not to our benefit. If you can get to the core numbers, you can deconstruct and apply the old formulas and see something closer to where we actually are. It is just really time consuming and it's like a serious math thing. And while I do like math things, government math does not bear any relation to reality. I don't think even Common Core can be as screwed up as some government math. Figuring out government math is very difficult. Yeah, Goldstream, it doesn't surprise me. Natural gas went up about 12% here annually. Electricity was actually one of the lowest. It went up about 9% annually. According to our government's figures, gasoline has gone up 36% over last year, which we all know it's actually that high. It's just the way they are. But yeah, you're right, Patrick. SOX. SOX is really doing a number on our poor Canadian friends. I mean, you have to wonder about that guy. You really do. He's entirely off. But that's where we are this week. as we learn more about the mysterious zombie gum disease and all that nonsense, we'll let you know if anything interesting comes up. And again, thank you, Candace. That was a beautiful, beautiful job. I absolutely love them, and I'm looking forward to building my crystal garden. When I build it, it has to be built in this cubby hole that's way off camera screen because we don't have any other place to build it. But when I build it, I will have Bear take some nice pictures of it so that you guys can see. But thank you so much for the box, and everybody, thank you so much for the prayers and the well wishes because it really does make me feel better. It means a lot. I mean, you know, it just does. But that's all for this week, and I will turn it back over to my bear. And, well, all we can do is keep hanging in when it comes to all the idiocy going on. I mean, that's basically all we can do. Oh. I got a box. Boy, did I get a beautiful box.
That was pretty cool. I thought it was like one rock in there because when it shook it, it moved like one unit. You know? Patrick Jones does much love, Eva. Oh, anyhow.
That box is so beautiful.
So. I'm not sure what that means, David, but I'll take that as a compliment. Anyhow. Oh, so first of all, any questions, Chris? Okay, come here. I gotta give you a hug for Chris. Okay? He says hugs. Here you go, Chris.
Oh. Thank you.
Yeah. Gold Princess thing. Let's see. Trying to get back to mining here. We may have some issues in terms of field work in the near future due to fires and stuff.
Yeah, fire restrictions could be a real hindrance to getting into the field at some point, unless we get rain soon.
Well, they're flying firefighting tankers out of here. According to Jim, they've got 3 DC-10s coming out of Helena Airport. I think they're flying, look, I'm calling it, maybe down generally towards Bozeman there, not all that way, but I mean,
They've got 3 fires, I think, that way, and then the 2 north of town.
it's, yesterday it was really smoky in the morning. I got up, it's like,
Yeah, but a lot of that's coming out of actually Oregon and Idaho.
yeah.
Oregon, that fire in Oregon, I think they said this afternoon, reached about 200,000 acres. So that Oregon fire is a real mess.
Yeah, that's something. Where's that, Jim?
Just north of the California border there somewhere because it took out a bunch of power lines that feed power into California.
Oh, that's okay. They got plenty of renewables. They should
Yeah.
be fine.
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong? Oh, dearie. Yeah. By the way, here's a method. If you are out in the field and you wind up getting caught in a fire where you basically got nowhere to run, if you can find a large, like grass field or something like that, and whatever way the wind's blowing, start on the other side of the field, light it up. Just let it burn. Then you've got a burned out space that you can go in the middle of and hide in your vehicle or whatever. But with the minor bago there, I've got 1.5-inch styrofoam insulation. So if it doesn't actually catch on fire, we'd be pretty well protected from the radiant heat. But let's see. Uh, let's see. Can you tell how much the total Montana bee has by a fire asset? Kind of roughly. The dumps run better than a half an ounce to the ton when screened to half-inch minus. And to mine underground, we're going to need to have an ore grade of at least 1 ounce to the ton to cover the extra, the extra cost of mining and hauling it to the surface. So that'll give you an idea. We're not into, there's no grades that we've gotten over 10 ounces to the ton, which is higher. I mean, that's deceptive on the high side there. But anyhow, so our underground assays where we consider ore grades would have to be over an ounce to the ton, but generally talking a few ounces to the ton. The dumps again, that's running 2.5 and 1 ounce to the ton when it's screened. The coarser material, we'll have to see if we can hand sort some stuff and form some decent grade that way. But that's where we're looking at there. It also depends on how wide the structure is as to how rich it has to be. We could probably mine half ounce to the ton in perpendicular vein if it was 4 feet wide or something. We don't quite make that. Yeah, we'll have to see how the details on the extraction methodology work to determine what the costs, efficiencies, throughputs, capital expenditures, etc., are involved in that before we can factor it into the question of what is an ore grade, or of course being defined as something you can make money on. So that's what we're looking at there. It is extremely fine gold. 80% passing 6.8 microns or 2,000 mesh. That's why it leaches so darn well. And that would be, David Reed said, hey, did we have to come and help you during the vacation? Oh, you and Eva would get along well then, David. Because I just don't follow orders very well in the morning. Working till dark.
Anybody who is foolish enough to give me an order in the morning learns very quickly that this is not a good idea.
So, as I say, that's one of the big variables is how expensive and effective is the extraction process going to be. But this kind of rule of thumb, if it isn't a foot wide and an ounce to the ton, it's probably going to cost too much on a real micro scale. Now, if it's 2 foot wide and half ounces a ton, you may still be able to make it work, right? But just a lot of variables.
Yeah, it's grade and what it's going to take to get the gold out of the rock.
Yeah. So it's so variable with hard rock that you can't really apply rules of thumb. Like with placer, you can say, well, it's going to cost somewhere between. But how much would it cost to mine, process, and reclaim an area roughly per cubic yard?
$8 a yard.
Say, he can do that.
Yeah, well, on the right scale, but then you got the depth factor. There's other factors that you do have to put in there to where this project you may be able to do for $8 a yard without losing money. You're not going to make any, but you're not going to lose any. But the next project, if there's depth or a major water issue or something, you may be at $10 or $12 a yard.
Yeah.
Unless you can do it on a scale like they are in the Yukon. A lot of that is running $10 to $15 a yard. But when you look at the yardage they're doing, it has a scale of economy to it that you can make money at $10 a yard if you can move enough yardage and it's clean moving.
Yeah, I got it, David.
So there is a scale of economy to anything, even in, a small mine, that you have to find that happy medium, because maybe your break even is, like a certain amount of dollars per day of value. Well, if you can do double that value in one day, now it's a productive money making month. So you have to find that scale of where is it actually productive to where we actually make money every day that we're here.
And on the other hand, in the hard rock mining, on a micro scale, you're generating with hundreds of dollars per ton in terms of mining and processing costs.
And exactly.
But you better have a lot better grade.
Well, you need to look at, access to the site. What's it cost you to mobilize things in and out?
Yeah.
If you got to move ore. There's so many calculations that have to be factored into the true cost. And like you say, Goldstream, yeah, $8 an hour is fine if you're working through material trying to get that next pocket or something. But it also has that scale of economy where you don't want to do too many thousand yards at $8 a yard before you hit something that preferably is 3 times that.
And hopefully big.
Yeah, but exactly. But sometimes the pockets make up for the whole month of expenses.
Yeah. It's very
it's kind of like golf. I mean, you do have to play through in order to understand the deposition and understand the values that are really there, because I can say from experience, we went through some places where we went for a month without seeing enough gold really to pay for the diesel every day. And then all of a sudden you're back into the good stuff because there's an area that had hung up again. And the old timers even told me, Jim, when you get in that situation, you have to play through. And you may not like to hear that because it can get pretty expensive and you're sitting there pulling your hair out going, holy crap, do I shut down today, or where do I stop this, train and get off? But all of a sudden there it is again, and you go, oh, good, we're back in it.
Well, it's similar in the hard rock mining. If you can at least break even mining the structure, the pockets will give you some profit.
Right.
Depending on the structure,
You see the icing on the cake.
sometimes there's lots of pockets.
And ideally it
sometimes
gets
there's not.
better at depth or that farther in. Ideally you hit something that does continually bring you back in, keep you in profitability.
Yeah, if you can keep making money while you're exploring, that's the ideal situation.
Goldstream, in that scenario, I wasn't running that big of an operation. Actually, in the beginning there, I did a lot of it myself and occasionally had an operator helping me. But you don't know, a placer's not consistent. You can get in a placer that's consistent, but 9 out of 10 times you're going to hit an area where you do really good. Then you're going to have some lean ground or where it's it washed through, and then you get back into another area. Yeah, if you can stay on an ounce a day, but I can think of times where we were getting a quarter or a half an ounce, just enough to keep your interest in it, but not enough to honestly make money. Now when you look at after a month or two of running the repairs you've got, re-welding stuff and fixing belts and, a few minor breakdowns, a coupler here and a belt there. And
You mean things wear out?
oh,
right?
well, especially when you're, think of it as throwing rocks in your wash machine at home in in the laundry room. At a certain point, the rocks are going to overtake the washing machine. And that's really what you're doing as a placer miner. You're throwing aggregate into something that just eats it.
Yep. Well, I'd say with underground you have hard rock mining, you have the additional difficulty of you're not just breaking up dirt into dirt and rock, but you're turning rock into dirt. You're converting it. And that really takes energy and steel.
Yeah, exactly. Goldstream, there is areas, and even here, there's plasters that are fairly consistent in the alluvial part of the deposit that was carried. But then when you get into, maybe a little bit tighter canyon or you'll have areas that are richer than can be, and then you'll have some areas that you need to work through 100 feet of dirt or gravel before you get to the next little pocket or next riffles in there.
It'd be interesting to see how.
Jeff Williams is got, yeah, absolutely good video. Good. I really love their drift mine, what they're doing. I'm not so sure that's a one-man operation. I think he's had a lot of volunteers and help, and how that actually is working out, I don't know. You never get that part, but for the amount of footage that they're getting in that mine, and that it's more than one person.
I would tend to suspect the
Yeah.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some to be said for small, but you still want it to be, if you're going to get serious about mining, like full time, like I did or something, there's a level that you need to get to that makes the economic viability work. If it's $25 a yard material, that's fine. If you can get 4 yards through your plant and you make $100 for the day, you're doing pretty good. You got real low expenses at that point. But to take it to a bigger level where you've got higher reclamation costs, possibly your bonding is higher. Like here in Montana with the Department of Environmental, we've got bonding that's at a minimum now it's $10,000 a season. And that could be up to 5 acres, but when you start pushing that bigger acreage in a season, the reclamation bond dollars get higher and higher and higher also. Like right now, diesel fuel's going up. Good thing is gold is high, so that's kind of a non-event as far as the cost of diesel, as long as you're in gold.
What do you think gold's going to get to by the end of the year?
I don't know. I think easily 3,500 to 4,000 an ounce.
Wouldn't be shocked.
And that could happen anytime, actually. It's set a new low the last couple of days, right at that $1,800. So it's going to go up from here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
We're in Montana, Patrick.
Maybe you have to do it.
Oh, okay. To a certain extent, Goldstream, so is ours. As long as you can confine it, you can maybe plan out that you're going to take out 5 acres of ground, but you do it 1 acre at a time with concurrent reclamation. Your bond won't really change as long as you're doing the reclamation, fairly consistent behind your operation. They'll keep it to a pretty good minimum. But, typical government, anything they can do to slow you down.
No.
Or, keep throwing, I like to call it hula hoops that they keep throwing at you just to frustrate you.
Man, all this negativity.
Yeah.
I need to move away from it. Let's see. Yeah, that's the question I wonder too on these gold mining shows is how much is what actually happens and how much is scripted. There's times I see it where like that looks scripted to me.
A certain amount of it isn't. I got a couple friends that are on the show, one of the shows, but it isn't so much scripted as let's just say the excavator blows a hydraulic hose. Well, they need right away. They want to get the film crew down there. So in some cases, they've tried to fix it already because they want to get back running. And here comes the film crew, and now they got to take the hose back off, and start all over and film for 2 hours, putting the hose back on because they want to get that in the film. So it's not really that it's scripted, but they want to get a certain amount of it on film that they wouldn't have gotten if they wouldn't have made them stop at that point and do that.
The film crew is there all the time?
Not always, or there's maybe one cameraman down there or some mounted cameras, but then they say, oh man, we want to get that on film. So it kind of takes a guy out of production, and you're sitting there playing with the film crew for 2 hours.
Yeah, I always like that Deadliest Catch.
Yeah,
I don't think there's too much scripted there.
probably not, because there's no way to stop that action and let's redo it.
Yeah.
You still have,
Catch is cool.
well, you still have some drama. They create some drama
I think-
between characters.
I think
and-
they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I actually the show that I like the best, honestly, is Freddie Dodge's mine rescue stuff. You know, because you're really seeing what each of these miners is up against with trying to get separation, trying to see if they're catching the gold, and some of the issues on how they change the sluice plant or the wash plant, and what they're doing. Honestly, show the guy, here's the gold you're missing that you didn't even know you're missing, and now we've got you back into profitability. And there's a lot of truth in that from this, you know, the sites that over the years I've been on, is a lot of these guys don't realize what they're missing because they're not continually testing for it, and they never really tested to begin with on the site. So they just think, well, this wash plant will do it, and oh, okay, we need to make a little more, let's throw more yardage through the plant. And that's not, the bigger truck mentality doesn't get you more gold, it gets you more expenses. And that's a hard sell to some people. They can't comprehend, well, if I do more, I'll get more, right? Well, yeah, you will, but your expenses also can go up accordingly. If you can raise your expenses by 3% and gain 10% more gold, that's a different scenario than let's go from the 1-ton pickup to the 18-wheeler. And there's a big difference in costs right there that you have to be able to override with your production.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't get that. They just think, oh, we throw more dirt through, we get more gold, we make more money. No, you get more expenses, and actually you can lose a lot more money. You know, I was in a scenario at one point where I probably I lost tens of thousands of dollars trying to work through a spot. And part of it was my own stupidity, because I should have just shut everything off and went ahead and started digging test holes all over again until I figured out what was happening, and then turn the plant back on and start running valuable ground again. But it's a scenario that until you're in it, you don't get it. But don't believe in the bigger concept of, oh, well, let's just get a bigger plant and do more dirt, because your expenses go up exorbitantly at that point if you're not recovering what you're trying to run.
Well, that is one of the inherent challenges to mining, is the inconsistency of the material.
In any of it, whether it's hard rock or placer, you can be in inconsistent ground, and it's almost a guarantee you're going to be. You may start and you may do 2 seasons in really good ground, and all of a sudden, we're not getting what we're supposed to be getting. The material doesn't look like it changed, but we're not recovering what we were. And I had that happen one season that it started freezing at night and in the mornings, and it was just getting a pain to continue on. And the material sucked. We weren't getting the gold out that we should have been, and I literally just said, to hell with it. It's time to close it down for the winter and go home. And I thought about it all winter, and I come back in the spring, and I kid you not, we didn't dig 5 more feet, and we were back into better material than what we left in, the whole end of the last month of season the year before. And it's like, geez, if I'd have dug one more day, I'd have been into that. But you don't know that. You have to stop and start retesting. If you're not being productive, figure out why before you just continue throwing, rock through stuff.
Well, that's one of the psychological things about it. Psychology has things, but when you get a reward on an intermittent basis and it's unpredictable, it's hard to stop going for the
It's
reward
really hard to
because
stop.
you can't predict. Well, I'm not going to get it this time, and you're always thinking, if I just did one more inch or
I
one
know.
more bucket or one more whatever, yeah.
Well, in that exactly, Goldstream, you have to know the value, and that's one of the issues that I've seen going to different classers and different operations, is these guys think they know the value. Well, hope isn't a plan.
Whoa, that's deep,
Yeah,
man.
I know. But, hope is not a plan. You need to definitely stop, get out the pan, get out a shovel, get the backhoe, whatever it takes to pull some material and verify that what you believe is correct. And if you're not continually verifying, and that's why it's important, whoever's doing the digging, to know what the hell they're digging. Because they can send 2 days worth of, what you call ore down to the plant and find out there's no gold in it. And if nobody's double checking,
Smoking.
doing the redundant work of checking it, now you just spent 2 days making no money and wearing out equipment. Well, before you catch it, and hopefully you catch it in 2 days. What if it's, 7 days till you catch it?
Well, the other frustrating thing about sampling is you don't make money sampling.
No, you don't, and that's why nobody wants to do it.
Yep.
They want to, well, let's just get a plant in here and dig, and we'll run some material, and maybe hopefully we'll do good. That is a shitty freaking plan. That's the hope plan, and the hope is just not the plan.
Well,
You need to know, and hard rock's the same way. If you're not constantly testing that vein and doing assays as you're mining it, you have no idea where you're at.
so that's one reason I really like the hand panning technique, is because
It's a quick test
it gives you a decent idea of what's going on
in a reasonable amount of time.
in 5 minutes.
Right.
You can check your process speeds and things like that. When you're leaching, of course, you won't be able to see what's in solution. Although Chris is working on a titration method for me to do that too.
Right.
And
And that's good.
yeah, so I mean, basically, we can do that in real time. But if you guys haven't seen my speed prospecting videos, I'd recommend it, because it's just amazing what being able to get instant data does in terms of making that exploration efficient.
Real-time data
It's
is
amazing.
important.
Yeah, and I think even these big mining companies, especially the guys in Africa that I'm talking with, I think it'd be very useful for them to, do that while you're in the field. I'll probably, if currently there's a company here in Helena that's discussing it in terms of the field geology,
Okay.
and if so, I may get together with the guy and teach him that.
Show
see
them
what
some
happens.
things that they can,
Because it is just, I mean, imagine trying to drive your car if you couldn't see the road ahead. Or you could, I mean, when it gets really foggy, how fast can you drive?
Well, unfortunately, in ways, I've got to see a lot of operations and see what I thought they were doing wrong or weren't paying attention to. So for me, that was a damn good learning experiences that I didn't have to make, but I've made quite a few myself that will never happen again.
That'd be great, smoking. Absolutely.
That's incredible.
I don't know about Yukon, but I think on the second season or third season of Gold Rush, I saw them actually doing some drilling. And
They do some of that's already been drilled. They have drill results on what they're digging, some of them were done 20, 30 years ago, and they're not showing you that part of it, but they're, on some of that, especially in the Yukon, there was a lot of results from previous drilling and, trying to calculate out, can we make this work at $250 gold or, $200 gold.
yeah, and then it didn't, so it just
Well,
sat there and the results were still there.
That's another thing about testing is if you test a property and it isn't economic right now, leave it there. Keep your notes, keep your, everything together, because let's just say, we're at $1,800 gold today, 1804 or something. If a year from now gold's at $4,000 an ounce and diesel fuel is still $4 a gallon, something that isn't necessarily economic today, a year from now could be highly economic. So, those calculations need to be in the equation as well.
Well, I think, currently we're in a situation where both the regulatory environment, which has to do with costs and stuff, and the price of gold could change radically in short time frames in the very near future.
Fuel could go with it. We could have $10 a gallon fuel and $4,000 gold. Well, then you need to work the numbers out.
Well, yeah, the fuel is going to go up, and again, it's just so unpredictable to get the data and then do the calculations, throw in a good safety margin right now. I would want to make sure it was nice and profitable before I invested a lot, because things could go sideways in a hurry. This is just, I've never seen anything like this.
Unfortunately, I think it's going to go sideways in a hurry, and that's going to be a wake-up call for most.
Yeah. So, as I say, it's difficult to predict anything right now. It's one reason we staked some new claims this spring on the assumption that these might pay off in the future here. But I really don't think that one that's sitting in the middle of national forest is going to be usable anytime in the next
Not
couple
without
years.
some regulatory changes or
Exactly.
governance. The governance is the issue right now.
Yeah.
Like I've
Technically
been
not a
telling
problem.
these guys, we're at 15 months practically now on a permit right now, and we don't seem to be getting anywhere.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could go and file a complaint against them and say, since they're not doing their job, they shouldn't get paid until they do the job?
Yeah.
I'm not getting paid till they do the job.
Right.
Why should they get paid? Right? Yeah. Say it just, they can inflict economic damage with impunity. This is why all these,
without doing anything. Just don't do anything, and it inflicts damage on us.
it's like the COVID shutdown. The government employees, the teachers, they're all for the shutdown.
I'm sure they get a vacation and get paid for it.
Yeah, exactly.
The rest of us, that didn't work out so well.
Yeah, well, actually, it worked out okay for me, because since they shut down my business in Tucson, even I came up here.
They made it right. It was time for a change. And that's cool.
I'm having a lot more fun.
Well, sometimes that things happen for a reason, and that's good.
I wouldn't be surprised, Bob. Hard to predict, but there's definitely legitimate reasons to believe that is possible.
I think it is, Bob. I think it could you could add $50 to that number, I think, and that's realistic.
Yeah.
I think I think we'll see $150 silver. How quick, I'm not sure, but it's coming, because the demand is multiple times of the production of the world's silver, and there's no new silver mines really that have come online. As a matter of fact, some of them down, especially South America, have been shut down. So I think going forward, you're going to see some pretty interesting numbers in a lot of commodities.
Now that's from smoking.
Yeah. Gold in a pan.
That's a gold smile.
Yeah,
Man,
that's cute.
that is sweet smoking. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, folks, just trust me. You wish it was your pen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always
I
fun
always
to
use
see.
my can, it's not full of amethyst or garnet.
You can buy a lot with that amount of gold. Uh, so, as it's pretty bizarre out there, but we tend to be an adaptable bunch.
Well, you have to be, and you have to kind of be. You got to be able to think on your feet as you're doing stuff and figure out how to create ways of doing something sometimes that are economic without having to buy another piece of equipment or, spend money you don't have.
Hey, smoking. What are you crushing that with, or is it already crushed? It's a little crusher pad. I'm just curious what your.
Screening it and washing it, maybe.
I don't know. We should answer here shortly. That sounds like a great idea, Goldstream. Yeah, this is a really target-rich environment up here, and I'm meeting a lot of people in a big hurry.
Which
And
is
that's
why
nice.
more people need to move to Montana and why daily public service announcement, Arizona sucks rocks.
Okay,
Yeah, that'll work if you got 3 million gold, man.
a chain mill will handle bucket-sized batches without too much trouble.
And judging by that, you're getting gold.
Oh
Man,
yeah.
I wish I was doing that right now.
Someone already made you an offer, huh? Yeah, that's a good sign.
Well,
I agree. I wouldn't be in a big hurry to sell it.
The question becomes, what do they know that you don't?
How much are they offering?
Oh, that too. I mean,
Yeah.
there is other ways to make money in this business, and sometimes it's selling something,
Yeah. It can be done.
or
Releasing it.
go find more, or lease it for a percentage.
They're offering in a trillion boulevards all the bacon you can eat in half a cow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what got me into more hard rock and stuff is the opportunity to possibly lease mines to some bigger operations.
Yeah, Goldstream, but is that a known unknown or an unknown unknown? I love that when Rumsfeld came out of there. We have known knowns. We have known unknown. We know that there something is there. We just don't know what it is. And then we have the unknown unknown, which we don't even have any idea about.
What
those
those
are the
are,
ones
yeah.
that really screw you
Yeah,
up.
those are the ones that bite you.
Yeah, and they will. That's why you want to do a lot of sampling. Well, and this is why this whole extraction testing it's kind of tedious. But if you don't do it, you're just guessing, and it's stupid because you're going to spend more money tweaking your equipment than you would testing it right in the first place. Even if you don't wind up changing your equipment, just in the testing and tweaking on the equipment side stuff, you're going to spend a lot more money than you do on this. I know you know where the BBs came from.
It'll roll them up.
Now it'll notify me here in the corner when it shows up smoking.
I think if you just do,
Yeah, it'll give me a notification right here.
I think it just did a few minutes.
Now, it did a few minutes ago, which is what I read.
Yeah, but there'll be another one.
So that's that one. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, those are chunks of gold that have been rolled up. Yeah,
Yep. So there's evidently some pretty good sized gold in that stuff.
that's an RP4 there. That's not a bad table.
I like my RP4. It just isn't perfect for everything.
Yeah. That's not a bad table there for what you're doing. I don't have any suggestions. Stuff like that. Yeah,
That's normal.
yeah, the RP4 should handle that kind of stuff. Piece of cake. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's normal for a chain mill. You're gonna get the gold ball enough to get through.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's that's pretty good smoking.
Definitely.
Did you hear that little one? 2 ounces per bucket.
Very good.
That's some
That's some good
rich
stuff.
tailings or whatever it is.
Well, yeah, but you know, night, air conditioning, things. Just go out and scoop it up at night and then head back to the house before it gets hot. Work in the garage.
That sounds like a plan.
That is a good plan if you can make it work.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone else got any questions or something here? Oh. David, admit nothing, demand everything. Admit nothing, deny everything, demand proof. That's it. Yep. Admit nothing, deny everything, demand proof. Yep.
Well, good.
3 rules of bureaucracy. It is pretty warm. I can't say there's nothing to this global warming, but I haven't noticed the cities going underwater or anything like that yet. It's a little hot. Maybe we got to build more nuclear power plants to power the air conditioners. You know, did you hear somebody? I forget who it was suggesting we need to get rid of air conditioning.
The New York Times.
The New York Times. Okay, the New York
Yeah.
Times. That's
They-
right, because it
maybe
says,
they
why don't you
should-
turn off the AC in their
Yeah,
building?
maybe they should first
Yeah.
and see how that works.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Well, I'm getting to that
Watch
point
that.
with everything that is said in the mainstream media. Like the other day, the medical expert at CNN said we need to make it very uncomfortable for people to live unvaccinated.
Yeah, really.
And I'm like, you first, guys.
That's gonna work out real well.
Yeah, well, they're vaccinated. They said so.
That's what they said.
No, I,
Well, she's a true medical expert. She used to be the president of Planned Parenthood. So obviously, we
she
need
knows how to
listen
kill
her.
people.
She's got credentials.
Yeah. That's a private joke now. We won't go into details, folks. But if you hear she's got credentials. Somebody asked even, I mean, if we were trying to give them some advice, basically. To, what are your credentials? You know, so you're going to hear that from time to time now. Yeah.
Well, the funniest thing about that situation is the piece of advice they were asking for was not a piece of advice that you actually need credentials to give advice on. This is an ordinary life thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. No, pretty basic stuff.
No, there's just good old cowboy logic, and then there's some professor that can't comprehend any level of reality.
Well,
You know,
who was it? No, Prager. we actually went to a dinner with Prager one time. He was giving a speech there, and he said, I went to college, and they were saying that there's no difference between men and women. Boys and girls are the same. He says, you have to be college educated to be that stupid.
pretty much.
Because they got to beat the smarts out of you to get you that dumb. Yeah.
Wow.
Kevin, we are not satisfied. You got in late, I believe.
Moving forward, though.
We're making good progress. Here's the first 3 samples here. We get the light on, right? There we go. These are the first two samples at pH 12. Then the next one is about pH 11. And you can see it dissolves faster and more. That's 80% recovery in 3 hours into solution. That was 80% of the gold dissolved. And then we hit that. I think there wasn't enough chemical to dissolve the gold in that, because that's one of the things I cut back on. But I've done another 2 tests and taken all the samples, and all the samples are at the lab, and they tell me that the answers will be in hand tomorrow afternoon or sometime Wednesday, because they do a number of different types of materials they test, and today was greases and oils, and they want to avoid cross-contaminations and stuff. So they do certain types of samples one day, other types of samples another, and they'll be working on metals tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have that, and we'll have a better idea exactly what's going on. But we're very happy with where we're at so far, and we're just trying to get a better idea exactly what the parameters are in terms of the leach solution. How much leachant, how much lime, if any. So, smoking, I'd go with a surfactant, not a surfactant,
Flocculant. Yeah,
That's
that,
right.
yeah, flocculant.
Just go down to Home Depot and buy some cool clarifier and pour some in there. It'll clump that stuff together and get it to stick to the bottom.
Another thing is you could divide that tote with a piece of landscape fabric. That will help you also, to where it forces the debris down before the water on the other side of the fabric somewhat. The flocculant will make a huge difference, though. You'll see that clear up that water quick fast.
So yeah, if you're trying to get it clean, that'll do it. I've actually used that in an RP4 with crushed rock before, and it works pretty well. You'll use a fair amount of it over time, but with the stuff I was running, it was amazing how fast it worked. Yeah. Well, thank you, Smokey.
Yeah.
I'm very glad I was able to help on that. I'm glad you're doing good. Just keep it safe out there. Have a good time. You know.
That's a good point too, Goldstream, is use 2 totes. Have it pump at the bottom from one to the next, and that'll help keep that.
I'd overflow.
You could do an overflow.
Overflow would be better.
Then you want to drag something on the top of the water, though, to help drop out
Yeah.
the solid.
You can take burlap.
Yep.
And just
Piece of cheap landscape
if you have
fabric. Yep.
what do you call it? Like expanded metal, and make a slope thing,
Yep.
and put the burlap on, so that the water flow is this way, so stuff tends to fall off once it gets stopped. That'll help too, especially if you got a bunch of floaty little
Yep,
sticks
that
and
little
twigs
stuff
and
that
stuff.
keeps reoccurring for you.
Yeah.
The flocculant, though, will knock a lot of that right to the bottom of the toe. It'll clean up pretty good.
AU minor, theoretically, warmer should be faster. The kinetics on this seem to be accelerated by heat, so shouldn't be a problem. My question is, does heat tend to cause other side reactions that destabilize the chemistry, especially in the long run? Right now, in that bucket right there, Jim, the
Yeah.
yellow one,
Yeah.
yellow for gold, that's my pregnant solutions from all these tests. And one of the things I'm testing is how stable is it? Does it stay in solution, or does it precipitate out somehow? Well, it's not suspended, it's dissolved. So it would have to chemically combine with something, but it could easily do that.
If it precipitates out, is that a good thing?
Depends on the mechanism. It might be something we could use, but probably not. In this hard rock that we're working, there's a lot of iron. Some of it, the pack rat penthouse is running like 30% iron. The dump material is running about 20% iron, iron oxide actually.
Yeah, silver in it, didn't you?
There's some silver, but not much more than the gold. There is a 1,000 parts per million arsenic, which is not a good thing, at least in the underground stuff. I don't know about on surface. But there's not a whole lot of other metals in there. There's some, of course. It's a lot more than background. But the main constituents are silica, dolomite limestone, and iron oxide. Once you get past that, you're down to 1 or 2% for the next one.
We've actually, BC, on that question, we have used just 4 mil construction poly, do 2 layers of it. And if you still have an issue, get a big blue cheap tarp and put in also. So you've got a tarp and 2 levels of poly. And then for patching holes, bentonite or driller's clay will work really well if you do have like little areas or issues you're dealing with. A few bags then.
Smoking, are you hauling your crushing plant to the location or hauling your material from the location to your crushing plant? Because I'm thinking you can go get buckets of ore a lot easier than haul all that stuff out to the location.
In and out of location.
Yeah. I have not noticed any outgassing yet, Gold Miner. I did notice that if I'm doing it in the morning, as it gets hotter, then the temperature increases the pressure inside the jugs, the little plastic jars there, but I haven't seen any outgassing.
Yeah, Chris, that's fine, but commercial pond liner, some of that gets so damn expensive, and if you can't dig it back up and get it out of there, you're better off with a biodegradable plastic that at a certain point it just comes apart.
How long is that?
Actually, a lot of that with any UV light at all on it, sometimes it's a year, and it just it's just junk.
Huh.
You can't even pick it up. It breaks apart like eggshells.
That could come in handy at times.
Well, yeah, because that way when we're burying this, once it's a tailings pond that's buried, it'll act as an underground irrigation system in the vegetation back on top. But at some point, the pond liner becomes a non-event.
If they'll allow that. If
If they won't,
well,
then you got to dig it back up. I mean, like he's talking, it's a small pond there.
Yeah.
I don't know what Goldstream's doing, but yeah, if you have to remove it, you have to remove it. But for a temporary fix to a solution,
Yeah.
the cheap way can work just fine.
If they'll allow it, that would be great.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not using it year after year, then you're just going to do it a season that lasts for about 1 year total.
Some of that within a year or two, it's just gone. It starts breaking apart.
Yeah, it turns
The
into-
miracles of modern technology, better living through plastic.
Well, if it turns into microplastics, it's a bad thing. If it actually completely breaks down, it's a good thing.
Supposedly, it eventually all breaks down. But whether that's true or not, too, I don't know.
It's probably going to percolate through the
oil
earth,
derivative.
find its way to the river, go out to the ocean, and kill a sea turtle. Oh, you want to hear something funny?
Maybe.
I was talking to my principal today, and we were talking about some environmental this or that. I think it was a grizzly bear thing. He said, "Did you hear about when the Exxon Valdez ran aground? They had the big oil thing, and there was this seal that had gotten slimed, etc. And so they spent a lot of time getting it all clean and rehabilitating everything. Finally, it was ready to turn loose, and they turned it loose, and an orca ate it." Now, that was so freaking funny.
That's how it works. Yeah, so that was all worth the effort, wasn't it?
Well, look what happened to poor Willie.
Oh,
That was
Free
actually
Willy?
sad.
Well, they turned him loose and he died, right?
Yeah, they turned him loose and no pod would accept him because he's been raised in captivity.
Right.
And
It doesn't fit the herd.
he kept trying to get back to humans because
He was a human.
I mean, that
Remember Bar
was
Pod?
disgusting what they did to that poor whale.
Hey, environmentalists don't care. It's a religion. We will do the right thing no matter who it hurts or who it destroys. That's the reason their definition of right thing doesn't fit my definition of right thing. Yep. Yeah. Right now, I've just got, oh dear. For testing purposes, I'm using a filter flask. I have the proper software for this, but it's a pain to use. A Buchner funnel. Put a filter paper in here. Take the sample, stir it up real well, let it start to settle, and spoon out the sand. It's very fine sand, but it's sand from the bottom. Set it on top of the filter paper, and then pour the rest on top of the sand bit. With the pack rat Penthouse,
What's the filter material you use?
You mean the filter paper?
Yeah.
It's a paper filter paper.
Just a standard.
It's a standard filter paper.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so go ahead. That's what I've been using for the testing, because again, you don't want to add something you have to buy, like say silica sand, if you can avoid it. So I'm doing the simple things first. The Pack-Rat Penthouse material, it filtered acceptably. It was a bit slow, but perfectly acceptable. The dump material, on the other hand, yeah, it's crap. It's got a lot of clays, organics, things like that, whatever. It just does not filter good. It would be about the same as a coffee filter, Lincoln. You could do a coffee filter on that, and it would work about the same, yeah. But again, I'm just starting on the filtration, settling tests to see what works reasonably well, what works at all, and then figure out how to integrate that into the extraction process to where you have a system that actually works reasonably well. If it would filter nicely, and some of the coarser ground stuff might, then might be able to do that.
Yes, you could use that. You can use it, not necessarily on all of it.
Yeah, I use vacuum. That wouldn't surprise me, Chris. Main thing is, it was crap to filter. So if we need to filter it, we'll have to figure out a way to overcome the difficulties, or we simply have to figure out a way to get the gold out of solution without having to filter it, which would be my first direction of research at this point. And this whole thing, I'm really wanting to get, before the snow closes in, I want to be ready to build a processing plant for a reasonable throughput, like 150, 200 pounds an hour or something like that. Have all the testing done.
Push toward that ton a day.
Yeah, exactly. 1 ton a day, something like that. And have the ore reserves delineated, right, to get a full season in at a ton a day. So we're looking at what, 125, 150 days?
Yeah.
Okay. And
I always figured 120 just to be, that's my calculatable number, the low side.
anything after
And anything
gravy,
after that
yeah.
rate, because you may get 150 days, but then, you may only get the 120.
Yeah.
So, any calculation you do in mining, you want to be err on the side
of caution.
yeah, the short side, not the long side, like, oh, this could be really good. Well,
If everything goes right,
yeah,
we'll make a little
yeah,
money.
Right, yeah, you don't want to be there. Hopefully, if you can pencil it out for 120 days, the 150 might be really good. Yeah, well, hopefully their Gold Stream, you can get back that burnt ground after them fires go through. Sometimes you notice things you never seen before with the rock formations and things too. So a fire is not necessarily a bad thing as long as you can get back in the area. See here, if we had a fire go through where I've got claims, the Forest Service wouldn't have anything to do about our mining because without trees and flowers, they're out of a job as far as our mining claims are concerned. You know, I hate to say that, but actually in some cases it might be the best thing that happens. There's no vegetation to destroy if it's already burned.
Oh. I was wondering about that. To me, it seemed like, wow, if it's already burned up, there's no fire danger.
Well, there's the the Forest Service job is the trees and the flowers anyway. It's only the surface. Well, if the surface is all ash, there isn't much to worry about at that point.
What I noticed is on the way to Butte, there's those whole areas that are destroyed by those pine beetles. That wood should have been removed quite a while ago.
That'd be good.
AU minor, as far as I know, it's not going to need any extra aeration. Is there screening or filtering that use electric or to draw iron out? There's a number of ways to deal with different things. First, have to define exactly what's going on. Usually, more likely be using a chemical to try and break up something or combine something. You can use screening to, very fine screening to de-water essentially the fine sand and get the other stuff to go somewhere else. There are ways to do these things, but we have a lot of different research to do to see, first of all, what do we need to do? We may not need to filter at all. That would be potentially a simple solution to the problem.
Jeff, a few years ago, a friend of mine, they had some area west out here that burned off, and actually it was kind of interesting because they were already in the permitting stage and working on trying to get the permit to put the road into where they needed to. Well, when it burned, the dozers finished the road. The fire crews finished the road into there, and then right away they were able to permit it because there wasn't any problem with doing any destruction because there wasn't, like I say, the trees and flowers were already destroyed. So it could be a plus. Colorado is becoming kind of anti-mining, which is unfortunate.
Little one, Smoking, Joking, Roast, I'm going to read this to you. I just don't think I have expressed how happy I am. This is the culmination of years of work, and we are in some unbelievable stuff. I'm doing the Jeff Williams Happy Dance, and we're very happy for you, Smoking.
Now the next step, Smoking, as soon as you get, a little ahead of yourself there, start looking for the next property, though, so that you don't have a 2-year lag like I did this year. You end up with nothing to mine at this moment. And that sucks too, because I remember that doing the happy dance a few times where, things are all good, but try to work on properties ahead of yourself a year or two.
Smoking, that is freaking awesome.
Yes, that's cool to see you having success because it makes all the effort you put into it worth it when you really start to see that, hey, this is real.
You sent us some pictures, little one.
Well, you should take a video.
That's really
Well, good
cool.
news from Gonzo, little one.
Yeah.
Depending on his next 3 blood tests, he may be over the chemo.
Woohoo!
Yeah. We have a friend who's got leukemia.
Hairy cell.
Oh, man.
Well, hairy cell leukemia is not one of the really, really bad ones. I mean, it's not great, but it's not one of the,
Well,
It's not like it's keeping the cigarette. It's one of the more polite ones.
Well, so that's a good thing. Yeah, they've got a lot more treatments than they had 10 or 20 years ago. Let's see, what do we got here? This has got something going on with it. Now, over here, this burned out areas, do they tend to have a lot of huckleberries? Because even said in Maine, when it burned out, like the next year or two, it's got lots of blueberries.
Actually, not so much. The huckleberries here tend to like more the north side where it's a little wetter, longer, damper, little, temperatures a little more moderate.
Blueberries are high average.
Right. If you get north of here, yeah, there's some areas you can get more from Maine effect, northern Minnesota effect, and get huckleberries that are as big as blueberries. They can get to be big if you get 80 miles north of here.
Need a lot more water though, huh?
Temperature, I think, plays into it too.
Yeah, and the other thing is, blueberries are just a fire-loving plant.
One thing you do get on these burn areas if it burns through is the next year you'll get a lot of morel mushrooms here in the mountains on burned areas.
That would
And
not
that's-
surprise me at all.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Smoking, it's a lot easier in theory than it is in practice. It takes a lot of work or a lot of luck or both. I've been doing this small scale mining thing a long time. I have yet to really have a woohoo situation, but I've had a lot of fun in the meantime. Learned a lot of things and spent a lot of time out in nature.
Smoking is living the dream right now.
Yeah.
He has won the small miner lottery.
Oh, yeah, I mean that's
Well, that's the thing, is 90% of the time,
you hunt and you hunt and you test and you test and you spend money and spend weekends and days. And it's a lot goes into being successful.
Well, how many prospects did we examine for my principal here before we found it in with some good assays? About 5, 6. I think Montana B was like the 6th place to resample, and some of those, like I couldn't believe that one where we had the big waste stump on the surface. They couldn't assay any gold out. It's like that's a lot of rocks sitting there
without anything.
What the hell? You know?
Yeah, it probably wasn't a gold mine. We all know how that happens with certain companies who sell hoppy men.
A lot of this smoking sounds easy. It's not so easy sometimes.
Well, it's real easy when you get lucky.
Well,
You're getting lucky. That
part of it is getting the education too, to pay attention to things that at first you wouldn't have even looked twice at. I think that's one of the things I've learned, that you look at different colors of rocks and you look at different dumps, and pretty soon you realize that the thing that you were overlooking was that was the most crucial part sometimes. But it's an experience thing too.
Well, what is it? Luck favors the prepared mind.
Exactly. There's a lot to be said about that. That the more knowledge you can gain, and the more you can pay attention and test. I always say redundancy is your best friend. Test it, retest it, and then test it again. I mean, because what you don't see the first time or two might show up and you're going, oh, how the heck did I miss that?
No, there's also the follow the rule of P's. Proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
Yep. Well,
I don't know, prevents it. It minimizes it.
Right. That's what you're doing. You're trying to skew the numbers in your favor if you can.
Yeah, smoking, that's why the speed prospecting. It is nice to be able to take lots of samples and be able to afford it. I tell you.
I'm happy for you because, that's what makes it worth all the effort you put into it, is now you get to see the result.
Yeah.
And,
I think it's freaking awesome.
the other thing I found smoking is you realize that maybe some of the ones you tested before you ever got there might need to be revisited again.
Couldn't hurt.
That's what I found. It's like maybe we better go back and revisit a couple of those that were kind of intriguing.
Well, I mean, I found out over the years that I was doing this wrong or that wrong or the other from time to time. It's like, man, how many screw ups did I do? You know? And it is so frustrating if you don't have, your Yoda to teach you how to use the force, The force? What's the force? How do I do this? No, that doesn't work. How about this? No, that's not working,
No, that's easy there.
Oh, definitely, Lincoln. You're right. That's kind of why Keith and I started talking about even doing kind of a thing together. Is the educational value for me and for him and for all of you and what you guys bring. This is cool. And you can hear mistakes somebody made or things not to do or what to pay attention to. It is good for all of us.
I think so. It's a community. And that's one of the nice things, is that this does seem to me to be like a community as opposed to just a group of people,
Right. Well, it's neat because we get a lot of the same people and we continually are getting some new people. And we've had some really interesting discussions some nights that have been, pretty thought-provoking, really, and what we're doing. Try this, try that.
Well, one thing that I've got from this channel that I don't know if you have very much at this point, Emma, is just contact. Like Chris Georgie.
Yep.
How did I meet Chris Georgie?
Through here, I suppose, huh?
He was watching my videos and.
Well, that's how you and I met. I watched your video.
Yeah.
I watched your videos, and I'm like, I gotta talk to this guy.
I think it was 3 years ago. We were going to try and head up to Alaska, and Chris said, "Well, stay on my plane if you're in the area, And the guy's an amazing. I mean, you can tell.
Definitely.
He's really a generous soul, and he's an amazing host. He was out there every day, and from where he lived, where we were at, it's a fair amount of Forest Service road.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a minor little effort he made.
And it was not a road either. Bear is being very, very complimentary there.
If you can get an 18-wheel log truck down it, it's a road.
Yeah,
Trust me.
if it's got two tracks and you can really get there, it's probably a road.
It's a road.
It was a road anyway at one point.
It was a very bumpy road when we were on it. Yeah. But no, I'd say Chris is a very, very good person. And we've met so many nice people, had so many opportunities, got to do so many interesting things. It's just been a real, real blessing to us. And then, like last summer, I got sick and I had a community that supported me. I mean, I don't know how we'd have made it through that summer without it. But it was.
And we've met so
really
many
special.
cool people.
Yeah.
We
Chris, considering you live in the People's Republic of California, I think I
May
will
never
extend
happen.
you an invitation to come up here. You would love to say hi to you
Visit. Yeah.
and stuff like that.
You come visit Montana.
Yeah, I think it would be safer.
It's freer here.
Yeah, definitely. But no,
So they tell us.
it's really nice, and when you have people like smoking said, we've made a difference in his life.
And that's
Positive
what
difference.
this
And that's
is
so
about.
cool.
I mean, for any one of us to have, to find that satisfaction in what you're trying to learn and understand, that's a huge point in your life.
Yeah.
And Like
I know
now,
that-
smoking's gonna become a freaking billionaire.
Nah, probably not billions.
No, that mill site will run out, and then like I say, you gotta have another property to run to, because now you got all this equipment, all these toys, and you know how to do it. So you gotta be working on where you're going next as soon as you're done with that.
And the other thing with smoking is when you're doing your testing, you don't need to do the test on the table. You can do it in a pan.
Yeah.
If you can get it on an RP4, you can pan it real quick.
But, yep, you can do small samples
Yeah.
and find out what seems to be good and what not.
Yeah, that make it quicker and easier. And also, depending upon your situation, it's usually a lot easier to take the sample to the mill than the mill to the sample.
Well, David, we'll communicate. I'll get your email from Keith here,
Yeah, it's
and
already here.
we'll communicate a little bit, and we'll find something fun for you to do if you're coming up.
Well, you might be in a slightly less insane part of it, but until you guys manage to secede, it's still legally part of it and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, which makes it very nervous for me. That's pretty good, Kevin. My memory's not that good anymore.
That's what I've got notebooks filled with notes of places that I've been and what I thought I seen, and I try to document everything anymore, because from one site to another, if you find success somewhere, that's when you start looking backwards at, okay, I remember this scenario somewhere else, and it's like we walked over that one.
Hey, smoking, is that area open ground? You want to make sure that it's open. If it's private or whatever, you're stealing, technically.
Yeah.
Most people don't care if you steal rocks, but if it's that good, they would care. And if it is open ground, you need to get some stakes in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the paperwork done, man.
Yeah, I would hope so, Chris.
There's beer in it. There's probably beer in there somewhere.
Okay. Excellent smoking. That's important. Yeah. No, that's really cool to hear smoking. That's another thing, like, working on these projects in Africa and stuff. It's like, it really improve people's lives. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time on that middle fork of the Boise. That was a fun time too. I mean, I'm having fun. I'm glad Eva compelled me to move up here to Montana in January, because it's been a little bit stressful at times. It's been really interesting and fun, and it's just getting better as time goes on.
Out there, you know by now I'm always right.
I once asked your son, I said, because he disagreed with you. He was going to do something that she told him, don't do that, you're going to regret it. And he did it and regretted it. I said, Ryan, has your mother ever been wrong? And he goes, no.
There's your answer.
if you disagree with your mom and she's always right, just shut up.
Not my fault to keep wanting to do something dumb and hated.
Yeah.
Well, what was it in that particular case? I wonder, was like buying that car?
Yeah, I think that was like the second year.
Yeah. Okay. He's not the kind of person that foregoes the purchase because I don't want to buy something new. I just want to keep you. No. He wants the new. He wants to change this, that, or the other. He's got lots of good characteristics too, but that's when he tends to be a little bit of an impulsive buyer. Yeah, it's everybody's got their faults. Believe it or not, even can tell you I have faults.
Oh, all of us. And you can make, some really dumb mistakes, and hopefully nobody's standing there watching you when you do, but that's life. Part of that's the learning curve, though. You have to make a few trips yourself before you figure it out for yourself.
Well, David, you must have been there from the very get-go. Where does gold come from? And stuff like that.
Right. Well, I went back on every video I think you've ever done. some
I
point.
don't know, I'm
Go
just
back to see
curious.
what was the first one.
No, I want to see what's the, how many views it has right now. Let's see. So I am, let's see, well, that was the YouTube search. I'm fourth on the YouTube search. 418,000 views 5 years ago. You want to put it up? Let me just block copy this and go. Block copy this and go to just Google and see where I'm at now. And go to videos. My gosh, I'm number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think I don't recall ever seeing it number 1. Now some of them like how to hand pan microplane gold. That's number 1, I'm sure. But I'm number 4, little one. Where does gold come from? Sweet. Anyhow. Yeah, just a little bit of patting myself on the back.
Yeah, you're right, Chris.
Yeah. The time I built housing spot, I think that was 3 years ago now. Yeah. Well, thank you, Smoking. That's the purpose of it. That's a good point, Chris. Eva. Chris says, when you make the really dumb mistakes, you hope either nobody's watching or somebody got video.
Yep.
That would be great, Smoking.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, man. You know, you do the work, you deserve the reward.
Absolutely. You put
And
in
if
your time.
it's a life-changing reward like that, you know, go on to do things for others too, and you know, just make the best of it.
Yeah.
That is about, you know, that's life. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, this is what makes it really fun. One of the things that's not fun about this job is telling people, no, that's not a good money. That's not going to make
That's
you money.
hard, but if you can't find the value, I mean, if you can't test it, you can't find it, it's not a mine, you know.
I mean, you're doing the right thing. You're saving them a lot of money. I have a number of steak dinners in various places that people owe me from time to time. Yeah. Oh. No, yeah, and in the persistence vein, I didn't find how to hand pan microfine gold quick or easy. It
Sure
took
not,
me years
because-
of trying different things. Finally, we were working out there by Arivaca. Then, you know, I was experimenting with the table and stuff, and finally had enough microfine gold that I could put in a pan that I could do stuff with it. And eventually I found a way to make it work. But that opened up a lot of opportunities. Yeah, Kevin, we're over 200 now. And some of them are not of much consequence. Others are really important. That guy in Europe that's got the African thing, I sent him a kind of a playlist on sampling and panning and this and that and the other, and said, you know, here's the things that you need to learn how to do, and you know why they're important, etc.
That's true, Goldstream. You never quit learning. That, I think, for me, that's what makes this a lot of fun too. Is there's always things to look up and understand, whether it's the geology or the mapping or the, the claim filing. There's no end to the fun.
Well, nature spent billions of years creating this puzzle box.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it is a treasure hunt. It really is.
Oh, goodness. Oh, let's see. Oh, anyone got a new question anywhere?
Yeah, anybody we can help.
Oh, thank you, Smoking. Well, you had to do it.
Yeah, you did the work.
Absolutely.
And hopefully you learned something yourself too. It wasn't even all Pete or whatever. I mean, you did the work and you found out, okay, this works for me. That's a big deal.
Yeah, Chris, it is. But that's not the fun part of this job. Uh, yeah, it's just one of those deals where it's very, very rewarding sometimes and very, very annoying at others.
Well,
But
it is hard to tell somebody, just because you found one piece of gold, it isn't the mine. You need
it isn't called Easy Rock University.
Yeah, right. I mean, you got to go out there and you test the ground and you find out, is it economically viable to do anything there? Whether that's on a little scale or a bigger scale. The economics have to work.
Yeah. I also spent a lot of time developing equipment too.
Well, and
That's
that's
also a different kind of puzzle solving.
well, that's a fun part of it too. I built my one big wash plant. I spent all winter welding and fabricating and making sure things are going to fit. And that's, which I like fabricating stuff anyway, but that's an adventure all by itself. And then to be able to use it and see it work day after day, year after year.
If you like fabricating so much, how come you didn't get yourself a big MIG gun?
Well, I did have one when I lived somewhere else. When I got up here, it's like there's certain things that I had to get rid of to do what I was doing.
I would have made that crusher so
Oh
much.
shit! That would have bought us about 4 hours of time in a heartbeat.
It's okay. Well, and I had a thought. Jimmy was saying, you remember how that thing would fit sometimes when it was spinning? And he took the plate off and he ran it without the plate just to see. There's no hitting. You know how that plate warped a bit because you continuously welded those seams?
Yeah.
I wonder when you tighten that plate down onto the housing, if it leaks the housing a little bit.
Shouldn't, because there's an air gap there too.
I mean, it shouldn't. You wouldn't think it would be that much, but nevertheless, it's a possibility.
It should be marking up where it's hitting though at some point.
Yeah, I told him
if it would do it consistently, it would mark off.
Yeah, I told him watch the marking. There's some places where the hard facing sticks out a little bit, stuff like that.
Right.
So look, if it's hitting, you're going to see where it's
Yeah,
hitting.
you're going to see an edge, a mark.
Yeah. Another thing you could do too is clean it all out, let it dry, paint it, just throw some spray paint in there, and then just run it dry, and if you can get it to go, then just stop and look for the shiny spot.
That's cool, Goldstream.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get paid to have fun too. And not only do I get paid to have fun, but I get to spend someone else's money to cover all the expenses.
And that's a big one. Be able to do what you're doing.
Yeah, and I'm not being profligate about it at all, but I mean, just these samples that are at the lab right now, $275 for them.
Yeah.
So there's 11 samples at $25 each. Yeah. It ain't cheap.
None of it is.
No. But anyhow, well, we're losing a few, so I'm going to jump the gun a little bit on something here, so do not leave anybody. Trust me, there's a reason for that there. Um, hey, little one.
Yeah.
You need to get your shoes on. We gotta go for a ride right after the live stream here.
Okay, I thought we had already gone grocery shopping.
Well, we gotta go pick up Ryan at the airport at 10:30.
Holy cannoli!
Yep.
Ryan's coming to visit.
Yep.
Woohoo!
Your son Ryan's
My
calling
Ryan's coming to visit. Kids are gonna have to come by tomorrow and meet my Ryan.
I will. Yep.
Yay!
So come on over here and show people your face, little one.
My Ryan is coming to visit. My Ryan is coming to visit. Oh, I can't wait. Yes.
Yeah, we were. He was planning this before Eva got before he found out that Eva was sick, and wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make it. And then once he found out she was sick, he and I have been conspiring, and even just trying to keep Eva from knowing we're conspiring doesn't work too well. So he's like, "What are you guys? Just trust me. You won't be mad." You know.
Don't kill the messenger.
So I'll make sure I don't forget my camcorder too. You know. And yeah, so he's coming in. Shows up at 10:30 tonight, and we got to take him to a local hotel here. He's got the arrangements all made. He's a very competent young executive.
Yeah.
Basically, I mean, he's is he still working for Suntran, or is he back at
He's
Sunlink?
back at Sunlink. He was working his dream job.
Yeah. So he has spent years getting the qualifications and stuff to do what he wants to do. He is a safety manager for the Sunlink rail transit system in Tucson, and his eventual goal is to be an NTSB accident investigator. And he has spent thousands of dollars of his own money and weeks of his own time going to flying to other cities to take the classes, to get the qualifications, to get the certifications that's required to do what he wants to do. And he has done it. And I'm very proud of him. I know his mom is very proud of him. He's a good kid. And it is nice to see somebody that knows what they want and is willing to do what they need to do what they want. It's kind of like Jim here. He gave up a business and moved across the country because he wanted to be a miner.
Yeah, I wanted to go gold mining.
Yeah.
And I don't regret it for a minute. I mean, you know, I brought a lot with me because I was in the gravel and sewer and water, and I did a lot of things that, you know, farmed, worked on equipment. A lot of things I did. I use every skill I've ever learned anywhere. But I think in a way it all came together here too.
Gold miner, if you're talking about my concentrator, it's not truly a shaker table. Have I done any more work on it? I was working on it pretty vigorously before we came up here in January. Up here, I haven't run into any ore that it can process because the stuff that we're dealing with is just way too fine. We ran a sample through it, and I think I got like 18% recovery in the bonds. Oh, it was horrible.
There'll be other sites here that it'll work.
Exactly. I'd say I have to have the material suitable to throw in it before I can do much work. But I think I've got a pretty good design now. I worked hard to get things built before I headed up here so that it would be ready to go. And then once I tried it on the Montana B, it's like, okay, this ain't gonna work.
Right.
Yeah, it was
Next step.
pretty disappointing. But what the heck? Leaching is extremely versatile too. So If we have gravity concentration,
That question Smoking had on where to go. Go to up above that. He talks about the mine a little bit. That right there. Not the figure proper testing.
okay, smoking.
You do the same thing you've already done.
The proper testing is take channel samples of the veins, run them through your chain mill, and pan them.
You do the same thing you're doing right now.
If you can't pan anything, there's probably nothing there. If you're panning small quantities of really fine gold, then it's possibly worth an assay.
Yep.
Because it might be like Montana B, which assays like 20 times what it shows in the pan. If you do that a number of times and it never works out, the assay is always consistent with what you see in the pan. If there ain't much in the pan and there's not much in the assay, then you can pretty much kind of ignore the assays and just do it by the pan.
You end up going through that mine one little vein at a time.
Yep.
It's a long process. You can start by testing periodically throughout the mine as you can go through tunnels or get to veins and stuff. But inevitably, you're going to end up testing every little vein in that mine. And the best way to do it is exactly what Keith said, what you're doing. Take a channel sample on the vein, run it. Does it show anything? If it does, you need to know the measurements, where it's at. Keep mapping the mine as you go. And start to put the picture together of the areas that at least to zone out enough of an area to begin with that you can continue to mine, and then you can always keep doing further investigation deeper and farther in.
Now that'd be quite interesting, Goldstream. If you could send me a link or something to my email. Well, I think in the case of this particular circumstance, where we know the results, one can confidently state that it was in fact a good luck sign. Whether it was a supernatural or metaphysical good luck sign, who the hell knows? But found the mule shoes, found gold, that's a good luck
I
sign.
love it.
Yeah.
Did you nail that baby to the wall? Did you keep it?
How big a sample do you suggest? For a single pan test, I need about 2 cups. And depending upon how easy it is to gather samples, what type of sample, and the fact that I have an RC46 that can crush stuff, 500 pounds an hour, I'll quite often get like half a bucket or something like that, crush it and split it. But it's highly variable as to what, the bigger the sample you can get easily, the better. Another thing, when I do the speed prospecting, I don't even crush. I'm just taking the sample and
Screen your sample and
pan the screenings and then throw them back in there, and I'll crush it and split it later.
right? That's a good way to speed the process along for possible identification.
Yeah.
It's just screen bust out a bunch of material, screen off the fines, and try to run them.
Yeah. And Goldstein, that should be approximately okay for me. It's, I'd have to see exactly what we're looking at, but it might work. Couldn't hurt to check. They might make a bigger unit too. But yeah, smoking, you want to sit there and take a comfortable size sample. Say, a lot of the stuff I did on the speed prospecting, I take a demo hammer, cut out, like a half a bucket of material, screened it to 30 mesh, which usually gave me about 2 cups, and then panned it down. And that's a very quick, easy, and cheap process. And it's not highly quantitative. You're not telling how much you've got, but you're very quickly determining, is this crap? Is this interesting? Is this good? You know, and from there, you can start making some informed decisions as opposed to just guessing. And but just go back in my videos and look up there's speed prospecting, the Dreamer Prime, and speed prospecting Mojave 1, I think it is. I've got two to specifically go through the process. And I'm out there in the field testing, I don't know, 10 samples each.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good video.
Yeah, I mean, it goes pretty quick. And therefore, it doesn't cost you much in terms of money. It does cost you time, mainly in taking the samples.
Yeah, time and energy, but, you know.
And once you've panned the samples, the ones that look interesting, you just take those buckets home with you. You know?
Well, then you
Brush
can
them up.
play with them further and see what it analyzes at.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah, a good mine, you know, with a lot of tunnel and stuff could be quite a process, but there's your goal.
yeah.
And if, you know, if the area you're working on has that kind of gold, I'd have to believe the mine still has some gold in it.
Oh, Gomar, yeah, that shaker table. I know what you're talking about now, the Rogue Wave, and it was useful for certain things. It would be more useful for like scalping off concentrates than getting clean gold. I haven't really done much testing of it lately in terms of how well it works. Well, reasonably well, but it, among other things, it didn't have the throughput I needed, and it was touchier than I wanted. And then I came up with the trip concentrator design, which seemed to be extremely simple and easy to use and not touchy at all. And once you got that, the concentrates from that might be well worked on my other table. But there were some issues with it in terms of gold behaves radically differently depending upon the particle size. For example, those BBs that Goldstream showed you. If you try to do my tapping technique, you'll never see them because they'll roll down that pan underneath the lights in an instant. You'll never see it. The real fine gold is so small it will adhere to the bottom of the table. That adhesion occurs somewhere around 100 mesh, where all of a sudden the weight is not as critical as the adhesion, the capillary attraction, something. I'm not sure exactly what the physics is, but it's easy to observe. On the other hand, if your gold is bigger than that, it doesn't. And therefore, you're basically trying to do two entirely different things at the same time with one table. And that has proven to be challenging. Now, if you look at the Mount Baker table, you'll see what they have. They have grooves. The heavy coarse gold can fall in the grooves. The light, the fine gold can fall in the grooves. Then it gets to the end of the table. As it's shaking this way, it runs across the flat to an inclined plane that's being washed, which works more like a wave table. And then that creates these lines of concentrates. And that, in fact, may be a superior design in many ways to what I was working on. I do not know. I'd have to try different things. And again, it's all over dependent. Sound like a broken record there, but it's so true. It's like gravity works. Yes, it does. But that was one of the big issues. I'm trying to make one table do two things. That was proving to be difficult. On the other hand, the coarser gold is easy to capture. so with something like a trip concentrator, if the tailings were going over my wave table, then that might be a very um, efficient system overall. The trip concentrator was working about 80% total recovery on Ryan's gold all by itself, and then you wind up with a few pounds of concentrates after a ton of rock, and in that case, there's a lot of things. You can just flux it if you wanted to. I was just hand panning it, getting it to a super concentrate, and then just recycling the concentrate back into the concentrator to try and recapture the gold. You know, whatever I lost, I just grab again.
You got smoking will be up all night watching videos, you know. Got him fired now.
Not time critical, Gold Stream.
Oh, get some water here.
And we will have to shut this down at 10 o'clock. Sure.
I have to go pick someone up. We got a little bit yet then, I guess. I get it, man. I understand that feeling. You want to know answers and you want to figure out how am I doing this. I get it.
Well, and as you do more of these things, you start getting an intuitive sense of what the gold is doing. And that helps a lot.
Well, and you start to be able to kind of plan out each thing in your mind of what you're going to do next. Okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this.
Well, yeah, Chris. It also has way too many conveyors, in my opinion. Yeah, but that's just my opinion. If you have your plant balanced properly, you only need one hopper. You don't need multiple hoppers, multiple conveyors, and multiple feeders, and things like that. You just have,
People like to overcomplicate things sometimes.
yeah, some people do.
And then they lose gold all over the place and they don't know why.
Well, the simpler you can make it work, the less maintenance, among other things. Less cost, less maintenance.
Well, you're probably even the better the recovery is. The simpler you can keep it.
It's entirely possible. If you have 10 components in a row over here, and you have 5 components in a row over here, system 1 is going to break down twice as often as system 2.
Yep.
So if any component fails,
double
your system
the
stops.
problems, double the babysitting.
Like, for example, what is the likelihood that a 2-engine propeller plane is going to crash land due to an engine failure compared to a single-engine propeller plane?
It's probably way more than half of that.
It's almost twice as often because most dual-engine propeller planes cannot maintain level flight on one engine. It's just to get you more speed. So you have twice the engines, neither one of which will keep you in the air.
Yeah. Okay.
You know? And so that's, you know, they're actually more dangerous, even though you would think they wouldn't be.
Better.
So when you've got 2 engines and, you know,
Right.
you on one that's
Is that why they went
sideways,
with 3 then? So that they could
probably,
they would fly with losing one and still have some stability.
you know, airliners, those 2 engines, each one is perfectly capable of completing a takeoff by itself. If you are past 80 knots and something goes awry with one of those engines, but the plane is still flyable, if you're past what they call V1, where you can't stop by the end of the runway safely now, you just power up and climb out. You know? The only time you would try and stop after V1 is if the plane is not flyable. If you think, if I try and take off, I'm just going to crash. I'd rather skid into the stuff at the end of the runway
Purposely
at a low speed than
Right.
crash at a high
Right.
speed. But yeah, those engines are designed for that, and they do it on a regular basis. I mean, it's not a common thing, but you know, it happens many times a year. And the pilots in their simulators train for it twice a year. It's a very highly trained procedure. When they'll in the simulators, they'll be past the point of no return, and they'll blow an engine off, and so it becomes pretty routine. Yeah, but many of those single engine, I mean, those double engine, you know, those twins, they still can't maintain level flight on one engine. It will just extend the route to the crash site. You know? I mean, it gives you more distance to find a runway or a successful landing site. A much safer thing is like Cirrus has a ballistic parachute.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And, you know, if you're like, oh crap, just pull the big red handle and let the parachute take you down. It's going to be a hard landing, but you should only get like bruises, basically. Yeah. Whenever you get to a Gulfstream, not a hurry at this point. I'm not looking for that particular device right now, but it could come in handy.
Chris is kind of following me.
Yeah, especially if it's the critical engine. You know, if you're at high altitude, again, you're going to extend the radius to your landing site, but it's not necessarily a controllability issue, which is what Chris is talking about. If you're taking off at a particular point, if the engine fails, you're pretty much screwed. Because if you power up the other one enough to get you off the ground, it'll flip you over. So that's just kind of a bad thing. Yeah. Not exactly smoking. That is good. Okay, well they've changed the rules then. He says no modern twins will fail to maintain level flight if properly configured. Okay, so they've changed the rules then, but it used to be that way. Did the link you sent appear not on this screen?
There was a link that came up and what it had on it.
Goldstream. YouTube blocks links unless you have a blue wrench.
You gotta be a boss.
Wonderful, huh?
You got my email, don't you,
You
Goldstream?
gotta be a boss.
Just go to any of my videos recently and look at the email address there. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'd like to get back to working on stuff like that too, but right now it's leaching. That's another fun thing. I was had plenty of interesting things to do. Well, it's 9:43, so we're going to be shutting down here in about 15 minutes, so we can go get Eva's son. And I will see about taking videos so that I can post that so you guys can see the happy reunion. She loves her boys very much, and she has good reason to be proud of both of them.
You gotta couldn't see both of them.
Yeah, well. Oh, One is across the ocean, protecting America. Unfortunately, we need to be protected from other people right now, I think. Oh, such is life. Oh. Anyone else got any questions? Questions or comments? Well, this week will be an interesting week on the leaching front too. I just use the Vago. It gets me close enough, although we can use a quad over here if we need one. Uh, my boss has some
And
accessible.
that's what I use. I use my quad a lot.
Yeah.
Run it out the truck and run as many trails. Carry a chainsaw.
What's your email again? Okay. First of all, if you forget, you can just go to the front of any of my recent videos and look, and just past the title it says if you want to donate, and our PayPal account is hard rock letter U at outlook.com. So that's our
Email and your Patreon.
well, the PayPal, not the Patreon.
PayPal.
That's what it is.
Oh.
So should have some more information on the leaching next week. And then pretty soon I'm going to have to start doing the extraction experiments. And Chris will be helping me on that. I'm thinking I may need to talk to Chris's mom, who works for a freight company, and see if I need a plating power supply, which I have in Tucson. I could use my wavetable, which is in Tucson. And there's something else I was thinking about today that I could use, which is in Tucson. And they could all just be put in one box, so to speak, you know? Put on a pallet. Anyone else? Any questions? Didn't see anyone from overseas today. Kind of interesting.
I'll have to look at that, Terry. I haven't paid attention lately on the
Oh, I've been too busy. Goodness. Always so much going on. I was and he went over 6,000 times. That's entirely possible, although if you didn't have the tubes balanced properly, it could be very hard to control. Thank you, Goldstream. Chris is talking about Juan Brown, the Blanco Lirio channel. He's a pilot that does a lot of stuff. So it's a good channel if you're interested in this sort of thing. The problem with centrifuging like that is that if it's not real well balanced, you're going to be doing this real quick. But we'll probably just buy a laboratory centrifuge used. They're a pretty simple piece of equipment. You buy one, you can probably get one for about $100.
It shouldn't be very much.
Because a good centrifuge is going to pull over 100 Gs. You know, it really cranks out the Gs. Yep. When I get it, I'll show it to y'all. Oh, we're gonna have lots of fun this summer. Okay, anyone else? Any questions?
We got you going now, don't we, Chris?
So they make them better than they used to. How far do you think they could haul with mules to the crusher?
Ha! A long way.
They used to do it long miles.
Yeah, hundreds of miles in some cases.
Okay, Chris. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to look for a used centrifuge, there's 50 mil tubes. They're, what are they? I had it here. They are about 28 millimeters in diameter, roughly. Probably it'd be a 30 millimeter holder or something like that. Those are the tubes, and they're like 28 to 30 millimeters in diameter.
Ooh, a centrifuge.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, smoking. I would first look at all the mines in the immediate area within a mile of where you're at, you know. And then
Correct,
and
Chris.
work
30.
out from there.
So, yes, they're 50 mil and they're 30 millimeter diameter, Chris. Yeah, 50 milliliter tubes. Yep. And it works fine for samples, but it's not very good for a process. Because it's hard to spin that much that fast. So we'll probably be able to get somewhere clean enough fairly easy just by settling. And then either electrolyte or resin adsorption. We might also do resin absorption as a scavenging, where we start by, dissolving the gold and electrolyting what we can, and then as we're kind of rinsing things and finishing
Yeah,
it
that
up,
makes sense.
scavenging it that way. Hard to tell. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Got it, Chris. Oh, anyhow, folks.
But did he find you a centrifuge already?
No, he said, look at the time, Chief. 10 o'clock.
Okay, I gotta go to that.
We could bring up the subject of lithium mining a little bit maybe next week.
Oh, yeah, I can bring that up, there's tons of news on lithium mining.
Yeah, and lithium minerals, 4K realities asking. So we'll try to come up with a little information on that for you. There's so darn many ways they're trying to do that now. All right, well, thanks everybody for being here tonight. Keith and Eva want to run here pretty quick, so
Yeah.
appreciate all the good questions and comments, and we'll try to keep coming up with some subjects week by week here, and Keith will continue on with his ore processing. So
Yeah, we'll get it figured out. I'm really glad that GeoGoldex seems to work.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because
That was an unknown.
Yeah, it seems to work pretty darn well actually, and also works for electronic parts supposedly.
Well,
So that would be
we appreciate you guys, and we, you know, the questions and comments are good. Hopefully they're good for all of us. So.
alrighty.
Thanks, Chris.
Y'all take care. Happy prospecting and keep it safe out there.